at 8 weeks, an embryo has tails. Do humans have tails, Charlie?
I'm sorry, what?
Serious question. Do human beings have tails?
I'm not exactly sure the essence of the
Do
question.
human beings have tails? Do you have a tail?
simple
I
question.
have never met anyone with a tail. I'm not exactly sure the
Exactly. But fetuses have tails. Kind of proves that at that phase, they are not a human being. They got tails. Humans don't have tails. We're not dinosaurs. Let me even show you a photo, if I may, okay? Do you truly, in your heart of hearts, truly believe that this is a human being? This,
Without a doubt.
without a doubt?
Yes.
This is a dolphin fetus.
So let me,
Without a doubt, a dolphin fetus is a human being. This is a human fetus. Look how similar they look, but quite different. Dolphin. You just confirmed that a dolphin, in life, you confuse dolphins for human babies often.
So let me
you go to
ask you a
SeaWorld
question.
and you're like, someone's got
So
human babies
good.
in that aquarium. Get the
So
human
good.
babies out of the aquarium.
well, you labeled it as a human fetus.
No,
You
I did
that
not.
dishonestly.
No, I did not. I
But
didn't label it as anything.
was not dishonest. He did not say,
Let me ask you a
hey,
question.
come on.
So let's pull up those two pictures.
Sure.
Oh, yeah. I'm excited. So if you didn't already know this, Charlie Kirk now has I think a regular debate show. It's called Debate Night with Charlie Kirk. And I don't know if this is going to be against the YouTube terms of service compared to the Twitch one. But, showing someone who is effectively getting to act out his greatest kink, which is just getting demolished by other prominent speakers and individuals is going to be risky, to say the very least. But I'm going to roll the dice. This is another Charlie Kirk event, and this time he's going to be debating a comedian about activism and, most importantly, abortions and abortion rights. So this is called a long-form debate with a deranged pro-abortion activist. Definitely not trying to poison the well there, but...
Welcome to Debate Night, everybody. My name is Charlie Kirk. Tonight's topic is abortion. But as always, the conversation can go anywhere. Tonight's guest is Ben Glebe. He has been a comedian for some time on all the late night shows. And I think you're really going to enjoy this back and forth. Buckle up. Let's get started.
Sir, we can't really fit the text over your face. We're going to need you to perhaps maybe move a little further back in the camera. Oh, perfect.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to this episode of Debate
True.
Night. With us tonight is Ben Glebe. I say that right?
Perfect.
Comedian
Kirk, right?
Extraordinaire, that's what they call me.
Yep.
We are honored to be here tonight to be discussing all sorts of things, but specifically, we're going to be talking about abortion. The way it will work is very structured, and then we will enter into the laissez-faire and regulated portion of the conversation.
I know I've got to put on 125, but it does sound a little bit as if it's just like, he's being very emphatic on certain words. Abortion! Laissez-faire.
Feel free to interrupt each other and have all sorts of fun. And so it'll be 2 minutes, 2 minutes, and then
It
a series of
sounds
1
fun.
minute back and forth.
Looks like
and
you're
then
having fun, Charlie.
off to the races. Opening statement will go to our guest. And we have here today on the set 2 people who thankfully were not aborted. So Ben, first statement for you.
When we're done with this debate, maybe you'll be questioning that statement.
About you.
About yourself.
We'll see.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
So this is obviously
Well, this one's pretty spicy out of the gates. Here we go.
pretty contentious issue, one that affects women around the country, of course, so I think it's best that 2 men are debating it. And it is actually, though, I say that sarcastically, but really it is because we all need to be able to support each other. And so I prepared some things to say at the beginning, just food for thought to go. I'd like to start by quoting a woman who wrote a very interesting article in the Washington Post. Very funny article, too. She said about some of the hypocrisies of this position being anti-choice. We believe in freedom. Your fist must stop where my nose starts. Except this one minor thing is obviously not a big deal, where you have to use your body to build another body from whole cloth, give it eyeballs and a circulatory system, undergo months and months of creeping bodily horror as your torso becomes unrecognizable to you. Familiar smells become off-putting, and then at the end of this process, you have a human being for whom you have to arrange a life. Compare that minor, barely palpable discomfort with the shocking, invasive horror of placing a strip of fabric across your nose when entering a business for 3 to 5 minutes. I shudder just imagining it. You can cough and breathe on whoever you like. It's a God-given right. Nothing worse as a human than to have to conceal your exquisite nose. We don't believe in restricting anyone from living as he chooses unless, of course, it's tangible minor things like who wants to vote or get abortions, or both of which are going to disproportionately, of course, impact people of color. But does that matter? I guess not. After all, it's your body, and of course, we view your autonomy as sacred and worthy of protection. It's just that if your body contains a uterus, it does not technically belong to you. It's more of a vacant lot for us to regulate as we see fit, and your neighbors to be encouraged to sue about. So, no matter our race, our gender, or our zip code, that's the end of the quote, this is me now, I believe we all should be able to come to a consensus that we can decide for ourselves whether and when to have children. But a handful of politicians today are trying to pass laws that destroy our freedoms, undermine our rights, and endanger our futures. They make decisions that force people to struggle, to simply make ends meet or care for their families, and then shame and blame those that they force that into. And while they're busy fighting for our most basic rights, they hand the money that they take from our health care and our schools to our kids' futures and
This is
their corporate
a solid
donors.
intro.
We're in a democracy, not a theocracy, and it's nuts to allow government to
On
think
point.
they can have a say in the choices a woman makes for her own body. And the last most important point is that by doing
I was
this, women
like,
will die.
whoa, is Charlie going for an interruption? But no, he's just like, he wanted them to shut the fuck up. So he's like, yeah, you've talked for a lot. Come on.
Young girls will die. Without safe places to go for abortions, they will still find a way to get our daughters, friends, nieces, teachers, mothers will
good,
die.
Winston.
Would you rather your daughter die, if you have a daughter one day, or make a safe choice for her own life, or decide to start a family for her own life? And if you choose die, how is that pro-life?
Thank you. Okay, so I think the entire kind of framing of this debate first needs to start with the type of privilege that we have. Both you and I have age privilege and size privilege
Yep.
to be able to say that we believe that certain life should not exist. There's been 62 million abortions in America since the ruling of Roe versus Wade. So if you go to just a seventh grade textbook of what is a living being, or what is a being that has some sort of life, it will say that it's distinct and that it's whole. What makes a human life so incredibly unique and so magical is you do not need to encourage or tell that life to grow. It's not like a Corvette on an assembly line. Is that human life will develop naturally. This really kind of goes down to the question of when does human life begin? When does personhood begin?
You mean like all other mammals? Yeah, we're pretty unique and magical in that. Like, wow.
And the science of embryology says very clearly that life, human life, begins at conception. Now, speaking non-scientifically as a moral argument, we have overseen the slaughter of our fellow citizens over the last couple decades. This is a genocide, dare I say a holocaust of our citizens that has occurred since Roe versus Wade. You talked about women. Well, just statistically, half of the 62 million abortions since Roe versus Wade are 31 million women that never had the chance to live. We have a luxury and a privilege that we are able to say we are old enough and developed enough. We're larger and we're older to say to another life right now that's in the womb that you have no right to exist. You talked briefly about the racial part of it. 900 black babies a day are aborted every single day in this country. We need to have a moral question here of when does life begin? What is a human being? If it is not your DNA, it is not your choice. And we, as a society of human beings, the least we can do is ask ourselves the question, are those people, are those persons in the womb worthy of protection? I would contend, absolutely. It is the most important moral question, I think, we as Americans and we in a free society can debate and discuss, that all life is worthy of protection.
Loves it. So lots of problems with what you said. Let me start picking them apart first. As a Jewish person, I take large offense to comparing a life that never got to exist to a Holocaust which killed my family who did get to exist and were snuffed out. To say those are even comparable is deeply offensive, but let's put that aside for a second. You said that the definition by your own words and by the science of embryology is that life is distinct. But an embryo is not distinct of the mother whom it is literally attached to and dependent on it for all nutrients and all survival. If it can survive in this world, if it
I
can
can
take
tell you what he said. It was pretty funny. Hold up. So Dave, the other serf who does YouTubes with me, he says, "LOL, fucking awesome. That ups our trolling capacity through the roof." I was like, it's true. Because it's pretty wild trolling powers.
breath and go on to live, that is a distinct being, and you've got a great argument there. But without that, you simply do not. And you also contradicted yourself when you said that it is life, and then a minute later you said, never got the chance to live. A life had a chance to live if it's a life, right? So, in fact, it did not have a chance to live because it's not a life yet until it is born. Booyah, baby.
Okay, so you understand how dumb that argument is?
I don't understand.
That's like saying you never had a chance to live if I killed you right now.
That-
what
no,
I'm
it
saying is that
doesn't-
the baby was alive and it got murdered in the womb, therefore it never had a chance to live past the point of it being alive.
No, Charlie, in your example, the person's already alive. Like, did you notice that? Yeah, one small hole in your theory, Charlie.
What I meant is that it never had a chance to live to a 5-year-old birthday, or a 15-year-old birthday, or a 30-year-old birthday. Again, using age and size privilege that you have and I have, you say, you know what, we should be able to quash and quell
Size
62
privilege?
million human beings that never had a chance to live outside of the womb. Here's the basic syllogism that I bring as a pro-life advocate. It is always wrong to intentionally kill a human life. Abortion is intentionally killing a human life, therefore abortion is morally wrong. And so you're going to be making an argument about choice, but some choices are wrong. For example, it's wrong to kill human beings. So you're going to have to make an argument to the audience why either A, this is not a human life, or B, why the mother has the right to murder her own child.
Sure. I'm going to choose the former of those options, why
Okay.
I do not believe it is a life. And it's easy to make that point. But let me first say this. You are saying that it is a life that got snuffed out. And I don't mean to pull my age privilege on you, but I'm a little older than you. How old are you, Charlie?
27.
27. How come you didn't say 28?
Wait, what? Charlie Kirk's 20. He's in his 20s. No comment.
Because I'll be 28 in 2 weeks.
But if life begins at conception, you're 10 months older than that, and you actually are 28. Why don't you say 28?
Because that's the way we categorize birthdays.
That's the way you celebrate your life. That's the way we acknowledge life. That's the way we the birthday begins when you are born.
So I'll let you
if life
finish
begins
in
at
this one-
conception,
go ahead, I'll let you finish.
if life begins at conception, you would count your life from the moment that egg was fertilized. When you were the size of a poppy seed, not even a poppy seed, but after a couple days, a poppy seed size life that you're celebrating that great birthday. But you don't, because you don't actually believe that it is a human life. You do believe if you believe the science, it's quite obvious that it is the germ of a life, it's the beginning of a life, it's the beginning of a gestation of a life. If you're building a cake, baking a cake, you take the ingredients.
I don't know, Marco.
When that cake is done, you got a cake. No one is saying it's a cake when it's ingredients that will become, after baking, a cake. And if you throw that cake away because it doesn't come out properly into ever being a cake, you don't say, man, you just threw away a perfectly good cake. No, you say, that cake never became a cake.
So I'm just curious, and we'll just kind of go into the...
I like eating, so I'm a cake guy. Please,
going back and forth?
sure.
So when does human life begin?
I think the human life begins at birth.
At birth?
Yes.
So it's okay to terminate a child right up to 9 months. Full development, full birth, full breath, feeling, all of it.
No, I don't personally believe that, no.
So when is a human life worthy of constitutional and legal protection?
I believe that a human life becomes one that we should do our damnedest to protect when it is viable outside of the womb. That's my belief.
So what do you mean viable? Like
when it can
able to-
survive without the mother being connected and feeding all
that's
nutrients
3
to
or
it.
4 years old. If you can hunt and gather on yourself, a 2-year-old is totally dependent on the mother. Should we be able to kill 2-year-olds?
You should have seen me as a 2-year-old. I was very crafty.
So how about 18 months?
Listen, some kids can survive on their own.
So your moral
Absolutely.
position is to be able to kill 6-month-olds because they have to breastfeed for their mother.
No. I'm simply saying when something is...
It really feels like Charlie Kirk is doing his best to speed run through horrifying atrocities. Like, how many can he stack one after the other? Just hypotheticals, right? But just like, well, would you do this incredibly horrifying thing that would make everybody utterly disgusted by your behavior? Like, you know what I'm saying, right? As if the other person's going to be like, yes.
Is
That's
attached
what I'm here
and
to advocate
dependent on
for.
the nutrients of life
Like a
and dependent
6-month-old.
on the ability... No, a 6-month-old.
A 6-month-old's gonna go hunt and gather and grow their own crops. And
Nobody could probably crawl around and find some crumbs on the ground. We live in a society
that's a
that
degree
has...
of dependency of crumbs created by somebody else. You understand?
Everything's dependency. Hunting and gathering is dependent on there being animals
A
around.
15-year-old or a 20-year-old has the reason, the capacity, the maturity to be able to not be dependent on another human being.
I don't know if you've seen many 15-year-olds.
So your moral position is that if you are dependent on another, you should be able
Some
to be
got
terminated.
scuffed out of nowhere.
No.
Okay, so what is your moral position? Like, when does human life begin? That should be protected by the law.
I think human life should be protected by the law when it is born, because that is the only marker we all agree on. You
But
yourself
why
have
when
said,
it's born?
well, I'll tell you why, because you yourself have said that, and it was a really well-made point that you made, and I'll quote you back to you. You said, we have a universal standard for when death is, but we do not have a universal standard for when life begins, and we should. And then you go on to say, and I believe life begins at
I
conception.
do, yes.
But you then put your own personal belief at the end of that great quote.
Yeah, I don't know.
We
what's
do
up with this
currently
audio.
have a universal standard that we all agree when life
It got so
begins
scuffed
at
out
least,
of
and that's
nowhere.
from birth. Some believe it begins earlier, but not all.
If
you want the
your
universal,
argument
look,
is to
hold on.
change how we do birthdays,
No.
I'm totally on board for that.
Fair enough.
So I'm
Oh, no,
actually
I'm
28
fine.
years old.
You
Thank
can
you.
hear
If
my
you
voice
want
hasn't changed at all.
you, someone changes Wikipedia. If you want the universal standard you so seek, the universal standard we currently have is from birth.
Okay, let's see if
So
it
my
says like this.
very
Want to be except American Indians.
of it and its
okay,
definition of
The
words.
science of embryology is when deoxyribonucleic acid is formed. So I just want to make sure we're clear.
That's the science of embryology, not of lifeology. That's when an embryo
You
begins.
just made up a word called lifeology.
And you made up a science of embryology
No,
as though that defines
I did not
birth.
make a science of embryology. It is a well-studied
Yeah, but
and
you're
well-credentialed.
jumping and leaping that is what life is.
So wait, do you
It's
think
an
when DNA is
embryo.
formed, it's okay just to eliminate it? It will never be formed again. It is distinct. It is unique.
Yeah.
It is whole. The science of
When
embryology
DNA
says
is
it starts
formed.
at conception.
Well, that's a great, that's the science.
62 million human beings that were never able to
Yes,
get
and
live outside of the womb.
And you're a genocidal murderer every time you masturbate, Charlie.
Why?
Because there is DNA in sperm,
No, but
and
the
every head of
DNA
sperm
it never-
has DNA.
First of all,
Why?
It is a distinct thing.
Not. I don't do that. It's ungodly. Why? How dare you say such things?
Swimming around.
never formed
and
with-
there's
never
millions
fertilized
of
with
them,
an egg.
hundreds of millions.
Never
that you're
fertilized
killing
with an
in a
egg.
tissue and flushing down the toilet. Why?
It never fertilized with an egg. So let me ask
So
you a
what?
question.
Why is that your line?
If you're, because that's what I said, when a unique DNA
what
is
you
formed
said.
with an egg, that's what the science of embryology says.
And the science of science also says.
The science of science.
The science of science
That-
also
You understand
says,
how dumb you sound,
The
right?
science of spermology also says
Spermology.
that sperm is alive. You deny sperm is alive.
Do I deny that sperm is alive? That is my own sperm, and your fixation with sperm is like creepy and kind of weird.
Your
honestly,
fixation with women's wombs is creepy and kind of weird.
No, actually,
Even out.
So
my
true.
moral position to protect the unborn is one that I wish you had.
That's wild. So it's like Yeah, if you want to talk about like how cells are sacred and like women's wombs are sacred and that like the baby or the fetus or the zygote even is an incredible sacred being, why wouldn't you talk about sperm? Like, I'm sorry, Charlie, it's a part of the process. He's like, ew, gross, perverted. That's my like happy milk. Don't speak ill of it.
I wish you had that same dedication to protect the born children in this world.
Well, I do. So let me ask you a question.
You don't. You're against funding it at most turns.
The child's eyes and eyelids, nose and mouth and tongue have formed. Terminated. That's okay? Child's eyelids, nose, mouth, and tongue. Terminate?
Well, they're not real human ones. They're developing ones.
Got it. So electrical brain...
So like, is Mr. Potato Head human, Charlie? Is that how you're defining human? Like the early formation of recognizable organs? It's 100% a legal human now.
activity can be detected at 6 or 7 weeks and by the end of the 8th week. Terminate? Not a human.
It's not a human.
Got it. Okay. By 10 weeks after conception,
also, by the way, half a
child can
centimeter-
make bodily movements.
It's half a centimeter big at this point
Right.
and
So
0.25 of an ounce.
I'm taller than you, so I should be able to terminate you?
No, because we're
Okay,
talking about
yes.
scale. How tall are you?
I'm 6'4", much taller than you.
6'1",
So your
not
moral
much.
argument is taller people should be able to terminate smaller people. Got it.
Never
From
said
as
that.
That's what you said. It's small, therefore you can terminate.
No,
From
you're
as early
listing
as
things that
12
make it
weeks,
life. I'm listing
and
things that don't.
certainly by 20 weeks, an unborn child can feel pain. Is it okay to terminate a child that can feel pain?
Pain, that is a disputed scientific fact, because pain without the ability to understand any sort of context is not pain as humans know it. They register what is happening, but it is not pain as though, oh man, this hurts.
So if something can't register the pain, it's okay to torture something?
Correct, if it can't register the pain.
So if someone is on a ventilator, someone is in comatose, and you torture them, that's morally acceptable?
If it cannot register the pain, then it's not registering the pain.
Let me ask you a question. Are you okay with abortions for people that found out they are pregnant with Down syndrome children?
I wouldn't do it.
Are you okay with, is it morally okay for a society to embrace that?
I haven't thought about that. I think a lot of people with Down syndrome live beautiful lives.
So are they worthy of protection?
That's not a fair thing to ask.
Why?
Because I'm saying that fetuses with Down syndrome or fetuses without Down syndrome are not children.
It's a very, very difficult question to ask, and certainly one that Charlie Kirk knew that he could use, because it's going to be like, well, there's no good answer here. There's no answer that doesn't make you look poorly in the eyes of people watching this, no matter what you say. So you might have to pivot then and be like, well, in complete honesty, I think that the autonomy of a woman to have control, or we'll just say a birthing person, although that would probably piss Charlie off more, supersedes my moral judgment of whether or not it is okay to do that action. Because at the end of the day, that's me putting a judgment, right? But I think that a woman should have autonomy over my ability to say whether or not I think that is a good thing to do. So whether or not I approve of that action is going to be irrelevant to whether or not women should have autonomy in this case.
So you're going to a specific within the whole, but I'm arguing that all of it.
What did you get banned for? I'm not entirely sure, Robert Stewart. I believe it could have been for looking at people's salaries publicly. It said that was sharing private information, which fair enough. But you know what else shared the private information was the leak. That Twitch kind of is responsible for not letting happen, including my information. I never got an apology from Twitch. You know the letter you get from Twitch? It's like, what did it say? It's like, hey, just for a notice, we have reset all of the streaming keys as a precautionary measure. Does not even mention the hack or anything. That's the example. Or sorry, that's the extent of it. So I'm just like, okay, all right. 30-day ban.
Is not a human life yet. So you're going specific.
So let me ask you a
within it.
question. What species is it on the animal kingdom? If it's not a human life, what kind of life is it?
It's not a life.
When
yet.
Twitch
It's the-
fucks up, it cannot be discussed on Twitch. Well, I know that now. Yeah, trust me, I learned my lesson. I was talking to Lucid Fox about this whole thing, and then Lucid's like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Man, you really can't talk about Twitch when Twitch fucks up." He's like, "Oh no." He's like, "I avoided all of that." He's like, "And if you're gonna talk about it, use news sources exclusively. Don't refer to tweets or unverified information or all that kind of stuff, because yeah, they'll get you."
Human life.
No, I did not say it was a human life.
So it's not alive?
It is not.
Yeah,
So
first rule of
something with
Twitch.
eyelids, nose, mouth, and a heartbeat is not alive? What is it? Is it dead?
So a sperm with DNA and a head that can swim and find an egg is not alive. Is it dead?
Well, it's not been fertilized with an egg with a
Why is
unique and
fertilizing-
form,
it is
because
unique.
according to
Sperm doesn't
science
get
of
fertilized by
embryology,
eggs.
That sperm, when it is formed with an egg, creates a new being of deoxyribonucleic acid that is formed, that is magical, unique, and distinct only to that moment, therefore worthy of conception.
So it really sounds like alchemy is involved in this process. The moment this chemical comes along, it's like suddenly at that moment it becomes magical and unique. It's got a soul. That's where the soul enters. The soul comes in at that exact moment. So the soul's just waiting there, and then all of a sudden when sperm and egg go blurp, and then all of a sudden soul's like, and then secret chemicals, you get it, and then becomes magical.
and begins the process of the development of a full human being, where the sperm, independent of that, does not have that. Again, your fixation with sperm, kind of weird.
My sperm is magical and unique and worthy of...
You can talk about every other aspect of this process except for the sperm. I do not talk about sperm. I don't want to hear you say anything about it. It's magical.
Of whatever, the conception you said too. I got good sperm, and that's just a public service announcement for people that want to know that. You can't say my obsession with the first building block of life is weird, but your obsession with 6 hours later or 3 days later when it hits an egg is not weird.
But you admit there's something magical that happens once that sperm and egg meet, that a human life begins, that process begins, that a new...
This sounds so much weirder. So much weirder. I don't want you to talk about sperm that way. It's kind of sick. It's kind of weird, your obsession with sperm. But when the sperm and the egg touch, suddenly they become magical and happy, and then all the sorcery and wizardry come together, and I become a real boy.
DNA is formed, where two beings become one. Don't you admit that?
I think it's as magical as the incredible thing that we are given sex drives that.
Oh yeah,
us to...
no. It's just like that Monty Python song. It's just it come to life. Every sperm is sacred. Every sperm is fine.
Ejaculate and that compel women to drop an egg to have the potential to receive life. That is as equally magical. But you don't contend those are lives. You don't think someone having a period is
Let me ask you a
murder,
question.
and you don't think sperm ejaculation is murder.
So since you're so bizarrely fascinated with sperm,
You're bizarrely fascinated with women.
This is such a fucking meme factory. Yes. Oh, good content.
Women's bodies and regulating them even though you're not a woman.
I am very fascinated in saving babies' lives. I will not stop
They're not
advocating
babies.
for that. So let me ask you a question. Since you're fixated on sperm, a sperm, absent eating an egg, does what?
It dies.
Once a
This is gonna make. I can already see it. This is gonna make such a good edit. I can like if I just speed edit how many times he's like sperm, fixated on sperm. Hey, yeah, sperm. It's kind of weird about the sperm.
sperm meets an egg, uninterrupted from abortion interference, does what?
Oftentimes it will fertilize it. Obviously not always.
And live.
No, and begin.
And grow.
And continue. Not even
and
begin.
nourish,
Continue the building
and
blocks
develop,
of life. No, it continues.
And live a full life.
Not true.
So your argument of your kind of creepy fixation with sperm, which is that the sperm...
Oh man, so not true. So not true. Like, it's unfortunate and obviously a tragedy and devastating for parents when this happens, but a very large amount of pregnancies, I think something up to a third, end up in miscarriages, which again, it's a very, very sad aspect of life. But I don't think Charlie would then suddenly say that, like, well, what's happening there? Is that God? Is God suddenly committing abortions? Is that what you're saying, Charlie?
The fertilization of the egg.
You want to keep saying
does
creepy
not
fixation on
continue
sperm
to
so
grow,
your followers can
but
message
once
that to
the
me.
sperm
You have a creepy fixation
meets
with
with
controlling
eggs,
women's bodies. So
it
stop that
turns
phrase if
into
you want me to listen
human
to you.
life.
Stop that phrase.
Once the
grows.
sperm
Don't make it
meets
stop,
with
stop, stop,
eggs.
stop. Don't make
You're
it
the one
Charlie.
that wants to interfere and
Charlie,
destroy
I'm not
a
hearing
baby
this point because if
to
you're
be able to grow.
If you want to make a scientific argument,
I have.
Then don't make a stupid point over and over again about part of that scientific argument.
I'm just clarifying the lack of wisdom in your argument.
Lack of
where
wisdom
you say
how?
sperm independent of meeting an egg does what?
It dies if it
So
doesn't.
once
eat an
the
egg.
sperm meets the egg, uninterfered by an abortionist, it does what?
It dies. And an
No,
egg.
it lives. A sperm eating an egg,
sperm eating an egg, right.
uninterfered with an abortionist, it does
Sometimes yes, sometimes no.
what? But when it does
Oh,
develop,
yeah.
It eventually becomes
Becomes
alive
you.
when it's born.
One third.
When it's
One
born.
third do not
And when it
live.
doesn't, when it leads to a miscarriage or an ectopic pregnancy, it doesn't lead to those things. And then abortions can, or not even abortions, D&C procedures can help clear that out so the woman can go on to have a family in the future. Let me ask you a question. You're so against abortion and protecting lives,
And I'm very pro-baby.
but you are okay with abortion if it saves a woman's life. Why?
So actually, I will clarify that. That's so exceedingly rare. And in fact,
Great.
over 1,000 OBGYNs, nurses, and neonatologists signed a declaration stating, quote, as experienced practitioners and researchers in gynecology, we affirm that direct abortion, the purposeful destruction of an unborn child, is almost never medically necessary to save the life of a woman. So
That-
in the extraordinarily
Yeah.
rare case, which is so hard to find and pinpoint, the
Well, it's
only-
not so hard to find. It happens, and there's many
very rare. Well, these
millions of
1,000
documented cases.
OBGYNs say no.
That's great, and there's a lot that say yes, and it happens, and you're aware it happens. So try
But-
not to use a distracting statistic.
well-
you're okay with it in those rare instances. Why?
Because there could be other children in the future that could be
Right.
born.
That's my whole argument.
However,
if a woman's
it's
not ready to have a child now, there could be other children in the future
But
when they are ready to
I
raise them
will even
successfully
correct,
in life.
I will correct my own previous statement by saying I don't even think it's ever medically necessary. Because these 1,000 OBGYNs and nurses have said you can have cesarean sections. That's not to say there might not be necessary medical treatments, but to use abortion as the medical necessary treatment, I think is almost never the case whatsoever. Case closed.
No, you can't say case closed.
Well,
Case
I'm going to trust the
closed.
1,000 OBGYNs.
Wow, what a debater. How How's no one thought of that power move all these years? I mean, all these people, all these so-called debate bros going through life, none of them do that. I rest my case. You rest your case. Oh, I thought that was just a figure of speech. Case closed.
Who say it's hard to pinpoint and it's rare, but
Do
it
you not
happens.
trust the 1,000 OBGYNs?
I don't know who they are. There's millions
Well,
of OBGYNs out there.
The 1,000 say you're wrong.
And the 100 million others say that
So
I'm right.
let me ask you a question. You retweet Planned Parenthood quite a lot.
1,000. 1,000.
What do you have to say about the Planned Parenthood founder Margaret Sanger?
Oh, from
who's a
Tim Pool.
eugenicist,
Makes sense.
Who says we don't want the word to go out that we want to exterminate the black population. Does that bother you that Planned Parenthood is a eugenicist organization?
I've never heard that quote.
How about this one?
I
How
doubt
about-
the authenticity of that quote, but if it's true, I obviously condemn that quote.
How about
and
this
don't-
one from
don't support it.
Planned Parenthood founder Margaret Sanger? Human beings, our goal is to eliminate human beings who never should have been born at all. Or birth control is nothing more or less weeding out the unfit. Are you comfortable associating yourself with eugenicists?
I'm not comfortable associating myself with
Weeding
Jesus or
out
that
the
quote.
unfit,
That
is that-
answers your question. Can I ask you a
Is
question?
that, is that
Sure.
a true quote?
I got plenty for you.
Awesome. How many children do you have?
None yet.
Why?
Well, I got married in May, so it's a work in progress.
So you're working on having kids soon. Why haven't you adopted yet? Are you going to adopt kids
Well, I've
that
been
are in
married-
need of help?
So I do kind of live a busy life. But
We
I
all
would love to
live busy
adopt.
lives.
Actually, it's on the table.
Okay,
Yeah.
awesome. So Charlie's going to adopt soon. Excellent.
Potentially.
At 8 weeks, we have tails. At 8 weeks, an embryo has tails. Do humans have tails, Charlie?
I'm sorry, what?
Serious question. Do human beings have tails?
I'm not exactly sure the essence of the
Do
question.
human beings have tails? Do you have a
Very
tail?
simple
I
question.
have never met anyone with a tail. I'm not exactly sure the
Exactly. But
wisdom of the
fetuses have tails. Kind of proves that at that phase, they are not a human being. They got tails. Humans don't have tails. We're not dinosaurs. Let me even show you a photo, if I may, okay? Do you truly, in your heart of hearts, truly believe that this is a human being? This,
Without a doubt.
without a doubt?
Yes.
This is a dolphin fetus.
So let me.
Without a doubt, a dolphin fetus is a human being. This is a human fetus. Look how similar they look, but quite different. Dolphin. You just confirmed that a dolphin, in life, you confuse dolphins for human babies often.
So let me
You go to
ask you a
SeaWorld
question.
and you're like, someone's got
So
human babies
good.
in that aquarium. Get
So
the human
good.
babies out of the aquarium.
Well, you labeled it as a human fetus.
No,
You
I did
that
not.
dishonestly.
No, I did not. I didn't label it as
Yeah,
anything.
was not dishonest. He did not say,
Let me ask you a
hey,
question.
come on.
So let's pull up this picture.
Sure.
Is there a moral difference between the dolphin and the baby?
At this stage, no.
No, no, no,
and you
no,
just
no.
confirmed that.
Let me ask you: human and a dolphin. Is it okay to kill one and not the other? Is there a difference morally between a human and a dolphin?
I don't like to kill dolphins, but when
Do you
they're
like
living,
do you like to kill babies?
no, I don't. And when they're living, I certainly am not in favor of
Wait, so
killing either.
let-
but obviously, I protect a human
hold
over
up,
a dolphin.
Hold up the human one.
Sure.
Is that not alive?
No, it is not alive.
Well, then how is it able to have a heartbeat?
It's attached to an alive being called a woman.
Wait,
who's
so
the
it
mother.
doesn't have a heartbeat, does it?
No, it doesn't have a true heartbeat.
Oh, yes, it does.
At some point, it does.
22 days after conception, the child's heart begins to circulate. Not alive.
That is also disputed science and not
After
correct.
6 weeks, the child's eyes and eyelids, nose and mouth and tongue have formed. Not
No, no,
alive.
it is not a heartbeat at 22 weeks.
So
What-
wait, hold on. It's either dead or alive. Which one is it?
That is not true. It is becoming.
Pick one.
It's dead currently. It is
Oh, it's
not
dead.
alive. It is not alive.
So you were once dead.
You
before
defined
were
life
alive?
as distinct. It's not distinct. It's attached
It's totally
to somebody
distinct.
feeding it. Distinct means on its own.
No,
is
it
it not
doesn't.
attached to
That's-
its mother?
That's a different. That's autonomous. not
Distinct is the same.
Distinct means it has its own DNA, its own composition.
That's the definition of the word distinct, is its own DNA and composition?
Well, that's the
Incorrect.
So it is unique.
It has electrical activity. That's not a heart that beats. Yes, and even then, I mean, Charlie Cook's trying to win the game of semantics, right? Or how much pedantry can I demonstrate when I talk about this issue? If I really want to get down to it, at what point do we consider life? I mean, it's got to be one of the most difficult existential questions that has troubled great thinkers throughout human history. And now, at this moment, I'm going to establish this as the reason why or why not sperm is magical.
So is sperm, and so is eggs, and so is everything. Dolphins are unique. That doesn't mean you can't,
a
can't kill them
switch
and
is
put them
not
in
a baby.
aquariums.
There's 1 million abortions
I can
every
answer
single
that.
year. Do you think that's too many or not enough?
I think it's whatever the mother decides with her own family is the right move for their life, and it's none of our
Yeah.
damn business.
So if a mother murders
Proper
an
business-
18-month
proper answer.
old, is that okay?
No, it's not the human being. It's an
So,
autonomous
so it becomes a human being the moment it comes out of the womb.
Right, when
So
it
what do
can
you say about now
breathe.
the youngest pregnancy ever done, 22 weeks and 1 day, that baby is now 1 year old. Was that not a human being when it was delivered by C-section?
I don't follow. Say that again.
So last year, the youngest ever human being on record was delivered at 22 weeks and 1 day. That baby is now
That's such an extreme outlier, though. Like, really? Are we going to base either, like, laws or moral judgment on something like that? Like, suddenly, for the vast majority, all of a sudden we have to police you? We have to force you to be pregnant because of this?
1 year old since the time of that birth.
This is now a living baby. You're correct.
That's okay. So as soon as it comes out of the womb, it is living.
That is correct. If it's alive when it comes out of the womb, we don't know. right? A lot of babies die at childbirth. That's why you don't know until
not
they're
a lot
born.
of babies die at
Yeah,
childbirth.
a lot.
Very, very
a
low
lot.
percentage.
Can someone Google that for me, please? Can you please Google how many babies die at childbirth every year?
We have some of the lowest childbirth mortality rates in the
No,
world, thankfully.
no, we do not. We have some of the highest.
No.
We have some of the highest. United States infant mortality rate places us 16th among the nations of the world.
How many nations are there,
Thousands of
then?
infants die each year because of inadequate medical care that you often vote against and don't support.
I'm not an elected official.
But you support things and you
vote
have the
against.
influence of millions. You don't have a vote? Are you suppressing your own vote now too, or just others?
Are you saying that I vote in Congress?
I'm saying that you vote in elections and you decide who goes to Congress, do you not? And do you not support bills or not support bills based on your
Canadian
massive
only.
income?
Oh,
I
I
think
have
you
an
do.
accent
really
problems.
No, I'm not.
So let me ask you a question.
Also, we rank 33 out of 36 in the Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development Nations, OECD nations, ranked by U.S. News and World Report for prenatal and early childhood care that you often do not support. In fact, recently, when Biden suggested just $225 billion to support children more in the early years of their lives, you went against it and said, oh, capping it while
16 out of
theoretically empty lip service to it and
250-ish.
said, well,
Yeah, I
theoretically
mean, that
it's
is
a good idea.
still, like,
$225
it should be
billion is so
higher because
expensive,
it's the richest
and it
nation on the
caps
earth.
the amount they can
But
spend on their children
it's
at
not
7%
exactly
of
like,
income a year.
you know,
And by doing
100th.
that, there's no incentives then for them to seek cost-effective care. When you had no problem with Donald Trump spending $8 trillion, giving trillions and trillions of tax cuts to millionaires and billionaires, and raising the national debt to $27 trillion.
Can I be
no
honest with
issue
you?
with that. But helping the kids that you care about so much, the babies
So-
you care about so much, that you want to force women to give birth to them, and then they can go themselves once they're born because you don't give a shit, and you vote against it constantly. Bravo!
Can I be
What a
honest?
hill to die on.
I have no idea what the heck you're talking
You
about.
don't? Well, you've went on the record about it. That's pretty incredible. You don't know what I'm
Go
talking
find
about.
one of your note cards.
got a lot of cards.
Let's talk about the Holocaust that's happening in our country. So for
Say
you,
Holocaust again, you're gonna have a problem with me because again,
well,
my family died in that.
then
Remember?
let's dive.
Oof. Conservatives love fucking comparing everything to the Holocaust, eh? Like mask mandates.
Right into that. So there's a Holocaust happening in our country of 1 million abortions a year of our
That's
fellow
your words.
countrymen
That's your
being
offensive
slaughtered.
words.
So the Holocaust that's occurring, administered by Planned Parenthood, has a disproportionate impact in the black community. In Texas, 70% of all abortions are minorities, and 37% of all abortions are blacks. Why are you okay with that?
Why are you okay with dictating what the black community should do? Now Charlie Kirk should decide what the black community does?
Actually, I want more black people. Do you want less or
You
more
should
black
tell
people?
them how many babies they should have?
I want to protect all black babies.
Except with funding.
So here's the record.
Except with helping them have easier lives.
You want less
or
black
helping
children?
lift-
I want more black children.
No,
that
no,
would be a
no.
racist position.
Oh no, you're the racist position. I want the exact number of black children that the black communities decide that they want, and black mothers decide they want to give birth
It's
to,
like,
and not.
it's such a more normal thing to say than like, I want every black baby to suddenly triple. I want there to be an infinite number of black people. Do you disagree with me, or are you racist?
Force them to do so, and especially not force them to do so, and then not provide any of the funding necessary to lift them up out of oftentimes poverty situations. Oftentimes, you are forcing people to not only then give birth to babies they don't want, but then you're fighting them further
Anastasia, the
into
show
poverty.
Pro-Life
It costs about
Progressives.
$1
No, I
million
haven't watched
in the
it
course
yet.
of a
I
lifetime
will,
of
though.
to raise a child. And it's easy for you to say your trust fund baby was born rich. It's easy for you to say when you've never had to struggle for money. These people are born in difficult circumstances. They get pregnant accidentally or at the hands of an abuser, the hands of a rapist, the hands of a mistake when they were 16. Maybe it's their third child and their husband and them had sex and accidentally got pregnant, and you're forcing them to have it and sticking them further and further in poverty with no effort and no funding to help lift them out of that. But you care so much about babies that you think are dolphins.
So what percentage of abortions are rape? That are attributed to rape?
Do you not think rape exists?
I do. What percentage of abortions are attributed to
I
rape?
don't know, but any of them is too many.
Since you're a subject matter
Any
expert,
pregnancy
what,
due to
what
rape is
percentage
too
of
many.
abortions are attributable to rape?
I don't know the answer to that.
What is
But
the number one reason given for abortion in America?
Did you know that 1 in 4,
Answer the question.
the number one reason given for
Abortion.
is they are not ready to have a child and can't do it?
So you're okay. I just want to make sure the moral position. Not a child unless it's born, even though it can feel, even though it can breathe, even though it has a heartbeat.
Can't
has
feel and
eyelids.
can't breathe.
No, we already
It
went
can't
through
breathe.
this, all right?
Did.
So
Can't feel and can't
you're
breathe.
entitled to your own opinion.
Breathing in like embryonic fluid? What? That's one of the things that happens when you get birthed. That's why they used to slap babies. That's ridiculous. What is it, breathing, Charlie? Like, just think of what breathing is.
Not to your own facts.
Correct, you too.
You are taking the anti-science position
No.
that from as early as 12 weeks and certainly by 20 weeks, an unborn child can feel pain. And by 10 weeks after conception, the child can make bodily movements. Electrical brain activity could be detected to 6 or 7 weeks.
I've never denied they are not growing into becoming human
it can
beings.
But what
compose
percentage
music,
of abortions do you
it can
think are
freestyle.
attributable when people say, I got it because I was raped? What percentage?
I bet it's a pretty low percentage.
Yes, less than 1%.
Yes, but that's 1 out of 100.
So most
And-
are abortions out of convenience.
But convenience is a word you use to frame it as somebody being irresponsible. Not being ready to bring
Hold
a
on.
child into
So-
this world is not convenience. It's smart family planning that you are against. You're against
And
planning
also
parenthood.
very
You want-
traumatic.
You're for forced parenthood. You're not for.
Let me ask you a question.
You're not for
So
life.
the-
You're for forced
so
birth.
The rape question aside,
Well, why the rape question aside?
Because it's such a small
No,
percentage.
but the legislation, you keep taking these slices that you don't want to deal with
1%.
and throwing them
So,
away.
since you did some images, let me ask you
hold on,
some-
one
let me-
second, one
let me
second,
ask
one
you
second.
some
So
images.
when a child is born or when a child is going to be born and risk the life of the mother, you say that's so rare it doesn't count. When someone is raped, that's so rare it doesn't count. 1 in 100 times that
No,
happens.
well, it
so
certainly
why,
counts. I'm just
why
asking.
why do you not push for legislation that has exceptions for rape and incest? Why?
Well, because it's just equal to human life, and I'll prove it to you. So
It's equal to human life?
So which one of these, I have 2 pictures.
Yep.
One of these babies was conceived in rape. One of these babies was conceived in a consensual relationship. Which one's which?
You know why obviously I don't know the answer to that?
Because they're both human beings.
No, because I wasn't involved in the traumatic life experience of the mother that one of them resulted in rape and one didn't.
So one of these
and every
babies-
time you speak about abortion, you always skip over the mother who gives life to that baby and raises
We're
and
talking
gestates
about it right
that
now.
baby.
Which
no,
one of
you're
these
not.
babies
No.
was formed in a consensual relationship or
Okay,
not?
let me make sure I understand the question here. Let me make sure I understand the question. Your question is which one of these babies was born in a consensual relationship? Which one was born?
His like gotcha is so fucking weird. He's trying to show him right now. Can you tell the difference between like a regular fetus and a fetus that was conceived through rape? Can you tell the rape fetus? We're gonna play rape fetus or regular fetus. Can you tell the difference?
Born over the incredibly traumatic, mind-numbing, horrible, horrific experience of having to carry to term the child of your rapist, of your daughter watching at home's rapist that he wants to force
Yeah, he
anybody
certainly
to have
does
a
sound pro-rape
pro-birth,
right now.
forced birth opinion will make you carry to
So
term and
you-
be the mother of
he
a rapist
can't
baby,
tell the difference
be cast out of your
because
social
they're both
circles.
human beings that deserve to be able to.
This is such a weird photo. Like, I kid you not. This is Charlie Kirk holding up what he's claiming is the fetus of a rape victim and a non-one. And you're supposed to be able to tell the difference in this twisted little game of his. Wow.
To be able to live.
And you skip over the care and the trauma of
So
the
let's-
human
let's
being of
talk
the mother.
about- let's talk
Why
about
do you
the
not
care.
care about the mother?
I do
at
care
all?
about the mother. I care about the mother so much
0% you care about the mother.
that I want to talk about this. So let's talk about adoption. How many families
I
do you
handle
think?
my cards pretty good.
How many families do you think are waiting for children right now to adopt in America?
Charlie, you're aware that there are far more
Ballpark.
There are far more babies in foster homes
Mexican
and
Indian
in
format,
foster
yeah.
program and in
Could
orphanages
be.
than-
Just take a guess.
There's not enough.
Guess.
There's not enough.
Guess.
Guess what?
How many families are waiting to adopt right now in America on waiting lists?
I don't know the answer.
Just guess a little bit.
1 million.
2 million.
Okay. And how
How many abortions are there every single year?
Your point is what?
Yes.
Your point is what?
Yes. Do you see where I'm going with this? Those could all be potential. Adoptees, breed. I need everyone to breed. Breed so this list can be fulfilled. My breeding list.
Your point is what? Let's say it's exactly 2 million. I bet
A
it's what your
million.
gosh is.
So
Okay,
there's
great.
twice as many families waiting to adopt than we
you're-
terminate children
And
every
you're
single
aware
year.
there are also children who are in the adoptive care system that cannot
So
get adopted,
why do you
right?
think
Are you aware of that
yeah,
fact?
why do you think they're in the adoptive care system and the foster care system?
Because a lot of people are forced through restrictive abortion laws that people
Because of
like you
bureaucracy
force on people who don't
and
care.
red tape. So we should make it easier to adopt. Do you agree?
Sure.
Okay, so we agree. So therefore, if we get rid of abortion, we have enough families waiting to adopt, and every child will be taken care
And
of.
yet again,
we have
and
solved
yet-
the abortion
No, we
issue,
haven't,
everybody,
because-
and Ben agrees.
No, because yet
enough
again-
families to adopt.
No.
All the abortions
Because
would go.
look-
Oh, it's unfair that he has the power of the other camera because he can just like look at it all of a sudden and be like, all right, well, that's why I was right on that last point. And don't forget, sperm is magical. And then like cut right away. The other guy can't do anything about that. He won't even know that he's off camera at that very second.
away, and everyone gets
Because
a
look
loving
how well
parent,
you-
and Ben would have to go
Look-
back to obsessing about sperm.
Look how well you again skipped right over the mother. You refuse to talk about the mother or the experience of giving birth because you don't know what it's
Wait,
like,
hold
nor
on.
do I.
Let's take-
You
let's
skipped
take-
right over it.
let's
So
take
your
rape
argument
aside.
is let's make everyone who's raped, force them to have a baby, go through that trauma, and then the trauma of giving up the baby for adoption, just so people can have a baby that don't currently have one. How about also not traumatizing women and respecting the autonomy of women? Why is it that you are in favor of limited government in every way, as small of government as possible, except in the uterus of women?
So if it's not your DNA,
you're against
why is it your
government
choice?
overreach, but not government
If
inner
it's
reach.
not your
You like
DNA
government reaching in a uterus and deciding for a woman what it does.
Hilariously, that's you, because you want to put the abortionist in the uterus
No,
by
I want
a
to
force.
I want to respect women's choices to make the decision best for them.
I literally want to put abortion doctors inside of women. That's your position, right? Are you going to defend it?
And their lives.
What I want is to make it illegal for abortionists and the abortion industry to continue to massacre and create a genocide and holocaust
Killing all
of
the
our
dolphins.
fellow
The
countrymen.
dolphin holocaust must end. You're right. We have to stop. That's Charlie Kirk's point, everybody.
See,
He's
Ben,
obsessed with
he
women's
equates
uteruses, and he
dolphins
wants to kill as
with
many
human life.
dolphins as possible.
So, Ben, let me ask you a question.
Creepily obsessed with women's bodies, telling them what they can and can't do, making them give birth, even if they're raped.
So, Ben, let me
or
ask
it
you a
might kill
question.
them, and he wants to make sure that
me ask
dolphins
you a question.
are stop.
I'll be honest, I think a comedian's the perfect person for this because, like, Charlie Kirk is so ridiculous and he's trying so much to do outrage bait. Like, that's the entirety of his debate style. It's just outrage, outrage, outrage. Oh, yes, well, you would be completely fine with there being more dead black babies? Is that what you want? So you literally want to have more dead black children. That's what I'm seeing you saying right now. If you have a comedian on the other side just opposing him, it's just like, no, you want the dolphin holocaust. That's what we're talking about right now. Like, two grown men yelling at each other, talking about magical sperm and dolphin holocausts.
The dolphin genocide.
Let me ask
Great
you a
point.
question. Is abortion ever wrong?
Is abortion ever wrong? You need to be more specific. I don't know what that means.
Is abortion ever wrong?
I don't know what you mean by that.
Is it ever wrong to conduct an abortion or facilitate an abortion?
I think, in my, again, personal opinion, if it is towards the end of a term and a child is viable, a potential child is viable on its own outside of the womb, and it's not for some serious abnormality that would make the child very likely to not survive long in life or to risk the life of the mother, I think that would be a pretty wrong thing to do. That's my opinion.
Why shouldn't the laws reflect that then?
I'm okay personally with the laws reflecting that.
You what?
I'm okay personally
Okay,
with
so
the laws
preventing
reflecting
late-term abortion.
I'm okay personally.
They kind
but
of
again,
do. You can't really get abortions in, like, the final month of your pregnancy.
I'm not a woman, so I'm speaking kind of out of turn here, but I personally don't love the idea of a late-term abortion. But you're against
That's news.
abortion in any way.
That's correct. Yeah, but I'm just. That's actually news. I didn't realize that was your position.
That's
because,
my personal opinion.
But then,
sure.
like, at what week would you draw that? Because then,
like I said, when a child is likely to be viable outside of the womb
so
on
let's
its
say
own.
the third trimester then.
For me personally, I'm
Late-term abortion is just delivering the baby? Yeah, pretty much. I mean, if you're getting, like, a C-section with, like, you know, a certain amount of time left, then yes, it's just basically a birth.
personally okay with that. But there are instances, like I said, when that needs to be done. And did you know, since you love throwing stats at me, that less than 1% of cases is it a third trimester abortion, and those cases are almost always when it is the life of the mother or serious abnormalities that the child would not survive.
So if
in
it's less
which
than-
case I'm not against
If
it.
it's less than 1%, then we should be able to abolish it. And now the Texas law, which you have been a big critic of,
Yes.
is at 6 weeks. 6 weeks, which we've already stated the facts. At 6 weeks, the child's eyes, eyelids, nose, mouth, and
my
tongue
God,
are
here
formed.
we
That
go
sounds like a
again.
human being, not a
No,
dolphin.
the shape of them. They're still webbed. They're still sitting there. I don't know how
So-
boring your life has been,
so let me
but
ask you a
life
question.
is not this sitting in gel floating. That's not life. Life's out in the
So
world.
let me ask you a question.
Life's out in the world.
Over
Maybe this is
500
why you go home and you just chill at home like,
Over 500,000 people are currently hooked up to a machine and comatose. According to you,
I was like,
a webbed
oh, I
person
knew it. I
or
knew it. I knew it. I was like, he's going to pivot to the coma, like the coma conundrum.
being somewhat.
Are they
non-human,
not
so
considered
basically
humans
just
to you?
pull the plug of all of them.
No, because developed living human beings are different than ones by your own terms are not living. Let me quote you yet again. You said on your YouTube, quote, Planned Parenthood conducts 300,000 abortions a year.
Yes,
That is
300,000 murders.
And then the second part of the sentence, that is 300,000 lives that never had a chance to exist. By your own words.
You know what I mean by
no,
that,
I
to
don't.
fully
By your
exist.
own words, you said embryos and fetuses do not exist. It's your words. They never had a chance to exist.
That is a sloppy,
No,
dishonest,
it's a perfect argument.
low IQ argument.
You think
so let me get
that
on to that.
they-
To be able to
Low
fully exist like
IQ.
you and I have.
The
You know that's
phase, no, that's
wow.
not true, sir.
You know that's
Charlie,
low IQ.
the phase that
you know that's sloppy. So let me ask you a question.
I'm
You know
speaking of
that's
the phase
low
that you
IQ.
think is
Let me
the
ask
same
you-
as a
bro.
dolphin.
Let me ask
Bro,
you-
And
you've measured your
are
IQ.
saying
Come
that
on.
I can't tell if it's a dolphin or not, but I must protect
What's your
it.
cranial
But then you also
circumference,
say
bro?
the fetus does
How
not
many
exist, never has a
centimeters?
chance to exist. It has not lived yet. You're 27, not 28. You said it yourself.
Let me continue on
But for
with
your
that
28th
argument.
birthday, I will take you to SeaWorld and we can look at the dolphins and be sad about it. if
Happy
you
to
want.
have another 9 months onto my
Please
birthday,
do
which
that.
is a really bizarre argument. But
An
let's,
amazing argument. You know that.
let's
You're
say we
even
take
changing
it.
your birthday for it.
Let's say you were right.
Thank you.
So for a second,
We
do you
just
ever,
decided it. I'm
for,
right.
For a second,
And that's the
do you
debate.
ever doubt that 62 million abortions is something that we should be worried about? Something that's wrong with that? Let's just use the racial thing, which you tend to always try to incite. All the black babies that were never born, all the Hispanic babies that were never born. Does that ever bother you?
Does it ever bother you that you still, despite me making this point already, are trying to dictate for these communities of color what they
Let me
should
be
do
very
with their
clear.
families,
Let me-
and then once you force them to have this baby, you don't help them at all?
Okay, we'll talk about both of them. Number one,
Sure.
I will, with every ounce of my being, intervene to dictate that babies are allowed to live. You seem indifferent to that, and
Does not matter. People's autonomy, other countries, entirely different nations. I will drop kick anyone, anywhere, anytime to save a fetus.
Oh, you were
Jokingly
okay with
compare babies and dolphins. That's fine. That's okay.
you compared them.
And
you
so-
said
It's
they
gonna
were
be the
100%
fetus
human
police.
life.
You dishonestly put up both
No,
pictures. That's
I
fine.
proved a point perfectly.
I would expect the same from, you know, a B-rate comic
You did the
like
same
you.
kind.
But
You're a
let me-
B-rate commentator. You did the
let me-
same.
Hey, Charlie is pissed off. Damn. They're only halfway through this, too. Yeah, you can tell he's mad right now. He's going for fucking low-end jabs. That's kind of like the equivalent in boxing around the 7th or 8th round when people they're hugging for very long because they're so tired. They'll try to get just a couple kidney shots in and say, and then push them both back.
Same exact thing
Let me,
with your
let me
photos.
continue by saying, which you couldn't
You
tell
did
the
the same
difference
thing with your photos.
He couldn't tell the difference between a human being conceived in rape
Yes,
or in a consensual
that proves
relationship.
my point better, Charlie.
let me-
Yeah,
no,
I know. That's what I was gonna say. As in, yeah, I can't tell the difference. That's the point. But come on, can you tell? They're the same picture.
I couldn't tell the difference because
And so,
exactly
let me
fetuses
ask you
are
a
not
question.
distinct special beings until they are born.
Let me ask you a
That's why
question.
you can't tell the difference between
If it's
rape
not your
fetuses
DNA
and consensual fetuses or dolphin fetuses or human fetuses.
If it's not your
Prove
DNA.
my point.
I won't lie. This is not where I saw any of this discussion going, but I should have. I was woefully prepared for how off the charts it was going to be. This thing is wild. Holy shit.
Why?
If it's not your DNA, why should it be your choice?
Exactly. It's not your DNA, so why are you choosing for these women?
It's not the DNA of the baby, Ben.
No, it is half the DNA of the mother and half of the father.
So should the father have a say?
I think the father should be able to consult with the mother if the mother so
Should the
He should have an
father
input,
override
yeah.
an abortion?
You
But
just said, Charlie. Of course.
that's the big difference. Should he have a say? Of course, he should have a very, very, well-respected input in this matter. But at the same time, ultimately, the autonomy will always go towards the birthing person every single time. Will they physically? Oh, nice. Oh man, I keep forgetting that we have. We got to get better at that. At adding polls to the chat.
Of course not. You should not be able to
Just
override
randomly
it. It's
and
the
for
mother's
silliness.
choice.
I
thought you said
carrying
it's half the
baby.
father.
It's half his DNA.
Can we get a dolphin
You should be
fetus emote?
consulted. That would be nice. You don't
Okay.
have
You know,
to.
most states it's illegal.
Okay,
It's
that's
not
going to be a
legal.
weird one to
It's not legal to
explain, but
consult
sure.
the father? Of
No,
course
you
it's
don't
legal.
have to consult it by law.
Fine, because it's the woman carrying
if
it.
it's not
but
your
you
DNA
just said if it's
so-
not your DNA, you shouldn't have a say.
That's right. So the mother and the father, it's not their DNA anymore.
So
because
why
the
do
DNA
you
is
have a
born.
say in babies of which you have none of the DNA?
Well, it's like saying,
Why do you have
Yeah.
a say
Why do we have
in
say
the
in
baby?
murder laws,
point.
and theft laws, rape laws, and arson laws?
Because those are to protect human beings
Which
who
begins
are
at
living.
conception.
In your opinion.
in the opinion of
Because
embryology
you
and
happen
science.
to be an evangelical
Embryology.
Catholic, correct?
Not even close.
You're not a Catholic.
Don't you have
You're
a card for that?
You're an evangelical Christian. What are you?
Yeah,
evangelical Christian. Okay,
and you're a B-rate comic, right?
and you're a C-rate
Oh.
political hack. What's your
How did
point?
your Netflix
You can
go?
throw names out. Like, it was trending on Netflix for 2 years. You've been on Netflix. You should go for it. One of the top platforms out there in the
I
world.
heard they took it off.
Yeah, they did. After 2 years, they took it off. Great point. You ever been on Netflix?
I wouldn't
I
want
also
it.
got a show dropping on Disney Plus soon, so please check that out.
My goodness, they couldn't pay me to be on that awful platform.
Yeah, I know it's not being a family-friendly platform, that's for sure. With your obsession with women's uteruses, they probably.
He's just rolling him. Holy shit. This is a speed round. Like every single time. Charlie, you're not going to one-up him at this point. I would start like counting your losses, you know?
strongly make sure that doesn't happen.
I wanna see
But
as many babies live as
so
possible.
Your religious beliefs inform your opinions on
course.
abortion. Yes, but
However,
mine inform mine.
I haven't made
Yeah.
one religious argument this entire time.
Sure, but all I'm saying is you keep saying that life begins at conception. That's an idea you have informed by your religious beliefs.
Ben,
Judaism
science.
says life begins with the first breath.
No, it does not.
Yes, it does.
That is a misinterpretation
And
of the text of
Judaism,
Exodus. Let me ask you,
Judaism
so-
gives preference to
so-
the woman, not the unborn fetus.
You want to talk about the Torah?
And that's my religion.
So what does it say in Jeremiah? I knew you before what?
I have no idea.
You were in the womb. What does it say in Leviticus about unborn
Oh,
children?
wow, somebody wrote that I knew you before you were in the room?
Yeah, somebody called Jeremiah a minor character in the Bible.
The Bible's beautiful, but it's allegories. So if you're going to take the specific words and say it's some kind of scientific book, it's not a scientific book. It's a good moral
no, it's
guide.
the word of God, Ben.
In your opinion. But you can't enforce your religion.
I'm very happy he keeps adding that. He keeps adding that at the end. In your opinion. In your opinion. He's like, yes, but it starts at conception. No, in your opinion it does.
Religious opinion on the world. That's why we,
Well,
on the
I'm
country
not.
especially.
I've been making secular arguments.
Sure.
So I'm just asking, as someone who says you were offended by the Holocaust, where millions of Jews were killed, why
Oh
are
my
you
god, he's gonna try it. He's gonna try it. I was like, no way. No way he's gonna go for this play. Yep, here it is. Here we go.
seemingly indifferent with the millions of Americans that are being killed?
Because they're not Americans. You have to be born on U.S. soil to be an American. Again, you prove my point.
No,
Thank you.
human beings.
The definition of an American is being born on U.S. soil. Born.
So-
born or naturalized.
Let me
so
ask
no
you-
Americans are killed every year
Let me ask
through
you a
abortion.
question.
Thank you.
The
Another
Bla-
point.
The Black
in
Panthers.
my column. Love
the
it.
Black Panthers said, which I disagree with the Black Panthers on a lot, but they said that abortion is a black genocide on the community.
Things are going so badly for Charlie Kirk. He's been reduced to have to use Black Panther quotes in an affirmation.
For them.
Are they wrong?
Yeah, they're of course wrong. I've been arguing this whole time. It is not a genocide. Genocides are genocides, and genocides take place of humans, not of undeveloped, still developing fetuses that will become humans that you think are dolphins.
What species is a fetus
That's you think
on the animal
dolphin.
kingdom hierarchy?
It is
Homo sapien or no?
It is a part of a woman human being that is growing.
What species
is a woman?
Fetus?
A woman is a human being.
A fetus, what species is it?
It will become a Homo sapien.
So it's not current. When does that species change?
At birth. How hard is this concept?
So wait,
we keep
hold on a
saying
second.
birth.
So you're making an argument
Yep.
that all of a sudden the baby goes through metamorphosis of a species change? That's a unique and very bizarre
Oh no,
argument.
I never said species change. I said it's becoming a full, living, breathing
So,
Homo
but what is it
sapien
before?
when
So
birth
what
happens.
species is a fetus? You got to organize it somewhere in the animal kingdom. Where is it? What is it?
Homo sapien
Oh, so
parts.
it's a human.
Homo sapien parts.
You just admitted it's a
no.
human being.
And what species is sperm?
It's
what species is egg?
neither human nor anything.
What species is the egg from a
It's
woman?
an undeveloped part of a male or
Exactly.
undeveloped part of a female.
And a fetus is an undeveloped baby.
No, it's very much developed.
No, it's not. It's developing the whole time until birth. That's the whole process.
New DNA is formed?
New DNA is formed the whole time up until birth.
No. The new DNA is formed right at that moment.
No.
Yes, it is. The new DNA
magical
is
moment.
the sperm and egg meet. That's called conception.
Yep,
and the science
yep,
of embryology say
yep,
that is a human life.
Yep. And each
that
egg
is
that
worthy of
drops is
protection.
unique DNA in that egg, and there's unique DNA in the millions and millions of sperm that goes and fertilizes that egg.
And we said, what happens to an unfertilized egg?
The sperm dies, and what happens to a pregnancy that doesn't go to term? It dies. Your point is what?
That it's a human life.
No.
That it develops.
But you didn't prove that point. You can just jump to that.
Uninterrupted from an abortionist intervention.
No, there's miscarriages all the time.
Of course, that doesn't make it not alive.
So when a miscarriage happens, is
That's
the
a
woman
life
a
that should
murderer?
be grieved.
Is the woman a murderer?
Of course not. That happens through and many different sorts. There could be chemical pregnancies,
Honest
but
question.
that is a life.
Honest question. Do you have any friends who've ever had an abortion?
Yes,
Okay.
and I grieve for them
You grieve for them.
because they were taken advantage of by people like you and the abortion industry.
Right, they were taking advantage of. That's how they feel.
The industry.
I feel many
highly
by the way,
profitable
you want to
industry.
talk about the mental health cost that women have after an abortion? I'm happy to talk about how most women regret having abortions, about how they have psychological damage, social damage, spiritual damage,
That
they wish they could take it back.
That is a BS talking point. It
No,
is
it's
very
actually
sad.
a
It is
scientific
very-
fact
it's-
that
sadness
abortion
is a
is
scientific
actually
fact.
terrible for the woman, for the
No,
woman.
no.
long
Unsafe
term.
abortion is terrible. Abortions are very, very safe and are very healthy to do. And in fact, for any woman watching this that is being forced to not consider an abortion as an option if they are not ready to have a child because maybe their husband or their partner or their parents are not allowing them to do so, please know you can get pills online from other countries, even if you have to, that can do a safe, painless, easy, at-home abortion, and you will not have to deal with any problems health-wise, and you're going to be all good. So know that option is out there for you.
I got to be honest.
Please keep that
your
in mind.
ease of which advocating murder scares
You
me.
keep saying murder, and you also think fetuses are dolphins, so you don't ever take in a point that you already lost and adjust
so
your
let me be
opinion,
clear.
which is
Your main
unfortunate.
argument you keep on resorting back to is you have two pictures of a human being and a dolphin
not
that
my
look
main
similar,
argument.
and you think as if that's some sort of
Your
big
own
argument.
words is that embryos haven't had a chance to exist yet, that fetuses haven't existed yet. Your own
Existed
words.
the way you and I have. Yes.
Right.
So now
Right.
you are
In
word
the world,
shopping
alive.
something I said on a radio show and YouTube channel.
No,
Got it.
alive. Your
Okay.
own YouTube channel.
So
Your own YouTube channel.
let me ask you a question here, which is what is a human being?
A living, breathing, out in the world entity. Let me ask you a question. What is a mother? The thing you keep not wanting to talk about.
A mother is a woman who has a sperm and egg fertilized and human life. is human.
And does she have
It sounds so much like the birds and the bees talk from like a dad or something. Well, son, I gotta tell you that first a man meets a woman, and then he takes a liking to her, and then he might, of course, try to woo her, as it were, through a series of, gentle gestures. And at a certain point, when they love each other quite a bit, and he's excited, he cuts a hole in a sheet and then comes on top of her, and the sperm will then touch the egg. They will kiss, and a baby is born. And that's what a woman is, son.
autonomy to make her own decisions? Do you think she's a full human being? That's
Well, this is
respectful?
where you stepped in it.
You think
If it's not her,
fetuses?
if it's not her DNA, it's not her choice. That's a moral argument.
It is her DNA,
No, it's not. New
and it's
DNA
her
is
body,
formed.
and it's her body.
It's not her DNA. It's new DNA has formed of a new being, and as soon as that new being is created, she does not have, in my opinion, the legal. Well, she currently has the legal authority in some states.
Correct.
Unfortunately.
Legal authority and constitutionally
the
protected
moral-
authority. You like the Constitution, don't you?
So what is your answer there, Charlie? If the dad agrees, it's totally fine, because then you have all the DNA. Like the puzzle pieces sink in, achievement unlocked. Is that going to be the future?
You care about it?
Where in the Constitution does it protect
The
abortion?
14th Amendment and the 5th Amendment.
What does the 14th Amendment say?
The 14th Amendment?
Where does it say the word abortion?
It protects your liberty.
Where does it say the word
And there
abortion?
cannot be infringements in the due process clause to your liberty and to your right to privacy.
so let me ask you a
and the
question.
government should not go into your body. Why are there no rules or laws that affect a man's body? What if we said, here's how we're going to reduce abortion, Charlie, is every man, including you, Charlie Kirk, newly married, has to get a vasectomy that can be reversed when you're ready to have a baby. Would you be okay with it?
No, because it doesn't involve
No.
a certain human life. Let me ask you a question.
What do you mean? No, it does, because
so
you're saying men are not responsible at all for unwanted pregnancies.
So you believe women...
You're saying men are not responsible at all for unwanted pregnancies.
Hold on, I don't
Are
even,
you?
I
Are
don't
you? Are you
understand
not?
where
That's
you're
a
going with this
question.
argument. Say that again.
Are men responsible at all for unwanted pregnancies, or is it just a woman's fault?
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Right. So then, shouldn't the laws also enforce something on them? Then, if this is such an epidemic that you call it genocide?
No, because you have a new being that is created. So we should allow women.
So women
to
are
make
just
decisions.
empty vessels.
So,
then.
so men should not be involved in making decisions for women's healthcare, right?
Correct.
So then you think Roe versus Wade is a mistake because it was 7 men that made that decision. So we should repeal.
That doesn't
Roe
make any
versus Wade.
sense because unlike you,
men shouldn't dare make
No,
decisions for women.
No,
you
because
advocate
unlike
for the
you,
repealing of Roe versus Wade.
This is so many like attempted gotchas, you know, like, oh, whoa, yeah, not going to figure out your way around this. There's no navigating this situation.
Let it be on the record,
No,
everybody.
again-
7 men made a decision that
You're
was terrible.
Bacteria also has its own DNA. Therefore, every time you use hand sanitizer, you're creating a genocide, you monster. Well, I mean, if he's not going to agree with sperm, if he's not going to agree that he's committing genocide every single time he jerks off, then I don't think he's probably going to agree to that argument either.
Empathetic men that don't have.
Oh, I thought you said we shouldn't make decisions
No,
for women.
shouldn't.
7 men, everybody.
Except obviously
repeal
the,
Roe
the
versus
Supreme
Wade.
Court, who we have empowered to make such
thought we
decisions.
should trust women.
You just scoffed at laws a second ago, but you seem to be a man of law typically, and so typically.
So what's the law that
abortions-
protects abortion? What was it passed by Congress?
Okay, once again, let me finish my
Name
point
the
here.
statute.
Let me finish my point here. You see,
It never
unlike
happened.
you, those 7 men on the Supreme Court were able to have empathy and realize they don't know what a woman goes through to give birth and how it affects every part of their life going forward, and so they realized that the government, something you're typically in favor of, small, limited government, not infringing on people's liberties or lives,
Including
should
the
not
unborn.
infringe on. That's not what they decided. They decided and it's now
Incorrectly.
protected by the Constitution.
the
Also, I
clerk-
can just say 2A, then Second Amendment is incorrectly. We can do any regulation
you
on
guys
guns.
say that all the time. So the clerk for
And your
Justice
point is what?
Blackmun
It's a good.
said-
So at the end of the day, in essence, Charlie thinks, if I'm getting down to this at its like root structure, that unborn human beings, their rights are at the top. So this is in terms of like autonomy. It should be for people who do not exist yet, and then next it's going to be men, then women, and then anyone he considers like lesser than. That's basically it.
said that Roe versus Wade is intellectually suspect, the most intellectually suspect constitutional decision of the
said
modern
this?
era. The clerk for Justice Blackmun, who wrote the opinion for Roe versus Wade, the 7-2 decision that allowed 62 million
The
abortions.
dissenting opinion.
No, Justice Blackmun was the majority opinion. This is
Okay.
the clerk for Justice Blackmun, who said it was one of the most intellectually suspect constitutional decisions of the modern era. When did Congress ever
Great,
say
and
that
my
abortion was
assistant
right?
one time said I was an asshole. That doesn't make it the law. I mean, what kind of
No,
point is that?
hold on a second. Do we make law through Congress or through a decision of the courts?
Do we make law through Congress or a decision of the courts?
Yes.
Congress makes law,
So-
and the courts decide
so
whether to uphold it or not.
When did Congress ever make a law on abortion?
Congress never made a law also outlawing abortion.
Yeah,
They
what
saw it
you
should.
got you here?
Both ways, Charlie. When did they ever make it not legal?
Actually, a lot of states had abortion bans up
States,
until...
not the federal government.
Well, so what does the 10th Amendment say, Ben?
What does the 10th Amendment
It says that anything not delegated to Congress will be left to the states and the people.
But this was decided.
Yeah, by a group of unelected 7 men who you say
Oh.
shouldn't make decisions.
Oh, okay.
Right, we have
No,
to
I never
trust
said that.
women
I never said that.
overturn
No, I never said they don't get to decide things for
that
the
have their
country.
own independent abortion bans.
You're obviously
But
twisting my words
hold on
very
a second.
strongly there because obviously
If
the Supreme Court
Congress-
can make decisions for the country.
If there was such a mandate, what's the law that allows abortion? Not Supreme Court decision. What's the law?
Charlie, the Supreme Court decides on court cases, and they decide whether it is constitutional or not. And backed up by the
Yeah, I understand,
Constitution
though.
that you and I both hold so
I will
dear.
give
They codify.
I will give Charlie probably the first piece of credit I've ever given him. I think I'm trying to think if I've ever maybe the closest is when he actually had to sleep outside of a hospital, and I was like, oh, he's going to learn something from this process. But anyways, the fact that he's left this in its entirety up on the website, that is at least something you can say about Charlie Kirk, because he has just been embarrassed thoroughly by this comedian over and over and over. I've this is my first introduction to him, but the dude is funny. This has been absolutely hilarious.
Been a law.
They codified
It's a decision.
into our. It's a decision. That's correct. And you can't
Right.
you can't scoff at Supreme Court decisions
it's not a
and
law.
then say that then the Texas law is not a law.
No, we're hopefully overturn Roe versus Wade through the Texas law. The point is that it was never
Good for
passed
you.
by Congress.
Great
It
luck
was
trying
never
to
voted
force
on.
women to have babies they don't want,
Hold
aren't
on.
ready
Let's-
for,
let me ask you a question.
Babies from rape
So-
and babies from abuse.
so-
great hill to die
Rape-
on.
rape
but then
aside,
make sure you don't
1%
rape
of-
aside. What a
1% of all.
sentence.
Let me ask
rape
you a question.
aside women. I'm sorry you have to listen to this. Rape aside.
Statistically, it is less than
1%.
1%.
So that's
Let me ask you a
millions.
question.
That's millions of
Let me ask you a
babies.
question. How do these other women get pregnant then?
Huh? You want me to explain sex
99%
to you?
No, I'm asking
I can
you.
explain sex to you. I know you're newly married.
So they made a
man,
consensual
when a man and a
decision.
woman love each other.
They made a decision, and then they want to terminate and murder that child.
Who made a decision?
Because the 1 million people having abortions every single year. So why all of a sudden should
No,
we
they are
be
accidents
okay
oftentimes. They're
with,
not decisions.
with terminating human life?
They're not decisions.
because they had a consensual relationship.
God, I hope for you
25%
that you don't
of
accidentally
all
impregnate your
abortions-
wife. That would be really hypocritical if you were put in this
25%
situation.
of all abortions in this country are done out of economic convenience. Do you think that's okay?
Economic convenience is such a stupid, backwards, low IQ phrase for you to use. Economic convenience, what you actually mean is they cannot possibly afford the $1 million it will take to raise a child that you can afford because you were born into privilege. And they weren't, but you're so privileged, you also want to force them to have a baby and then vote against legislation.
What's the average
to help
social
them.
welfare benefits for somebody annually with a child?
What's the number of it?
What's the annual benefit?
I don't know. Why don't you tell me?
$55,000 a year. What's that times 18?
Times 18 years? Mm-hmm. I don't know, roughly $500,000?
Right around $700,000, almost just about what it costs to raise a child. So there's plenty of social welfare benefits in place. So don't give me this idea of economic
because
convenience.
that's assuming
And?
every dollar of that goes to
Instead,
that child. That assumes every dollar of that
here's
goes to
the
that
essence
child.
of it.
Will you clip that segment you did on Chappelle? Yeah. What is it? All the segments. I just leave them up on YouTube, so you got the full VODs, and then what is his face? The editor Kyle is going to clip the Chappelle one, and I think the other one at the very end. And I'm definitely going to clip this one because this has been absolutely hilarious. Charlie Kirk is oh my.
Vote
through
against
size.
increasing this funding. You vote against paid maternity leave. You push against paid maternity and paternity leave. You push against helping increasing prenatal care. You push against making sure that there is more support for helping raise these kids.
Let me clarify
You
this.
only want to force people to have babies they don't want, and you don't actually care about it because you've proven time and time again here that you don't even know exactly what a baby is. You said with your own words that it's not a life until it's born, never had a chance to exist. You only want to do it to get more followers and to be able to keep your followers on a hook because the anti-choice movement never even used to be an issue conservatives cared about. Pre-Roe v. Wade, it was about segregating schools. That was the big issue that was the conservative movement hung their hat on.
You are all over the place, man.
Once I'm making great points all over the place, you're damn right. And so once the sentiment of the country shifted against that and they lost that hook on people's playing to their fear and emotions, they had to shift to another emotional issue that played on misogyny and racism without being overtly misogynist and racist. So they instead said, let's control women's bodies and therefore help keep communities of color down, help keep women down.
So I'm going to be completely honest. There's never going to be a situation in which Charlie Kirk, or most likely a lot of his audience, I think, takes what he just said and has a change their opinion. But that was maybe one of the first times I think you would have had a large exposure on the conservative side anyway to the actual history and the way that these issues work from like a sociological perspective. Hey, Cristo Avalas, thank you so much for the $5 with the message, stop, he's already dead. I completely agree. I should have done it in the voice though. He's already dead. And everyone, please go check out Cristo's channel. He's doing quite well. He's a verified member of YouTube. Hey, Cristo, I joined the Twitter club today. I have a bougie checkmark to match our costumes, and now I can use it to use all my troll powers. And people can send hypocritical messages at me, because when H Bomber Guy changed his Twitter name to Harris, it was to get a checkmark, and then I wrote underneath it, like, why would you ever want a checkmark with all those bougie fucks or something? Denny Azel with a very generous $5. Thank you so much. What did you do to get a 30-day ban on Twitch? Was going to give you them Jeff Bezos bucks. Denny, I got 30 days, I think, for reporting on the Twitch leaks. That's the only. They said I revealed private information, which I did, to be totally fair. But it was information that they revealed first, because the leaks got leaked from Twitch, including my information. Like everything, like my salary is out there for public use now, as is like, you know, my stream key, all the other shit that got leaked in that package. So Twitch never apologized to me for anything. That's all I'm going to say.
Down and help have men decide, like men like you, decide what's best for women, even though you can't be pregnant, never will be pregnant. And if you ever, your wife, hopefully, I hope for you have the life you want, gets pregnant, you raise a family, you'll have the means to take care of him. So it's very easy for you to sit on a high horse and say, you gotta also have a baby. Well,
So
good for you. That's real nice since they don't have the money to do so.
Do you actually believe this?
What part? All these great points?
Jack in the Box, I know, right?
One of them?
Actually, we've gone through plenty of it. And just to recap, age privilege and size privilege. Ben believes just because you're older and bigger, you should be able to terminate human life. He's been unable to pinpoint when human life begins.
Why does he never use privilege in the actual real terms? And then he's got this weird version of it. Age privilege, size privilege. Like, what are we getting into here? I mean, come on. We all kind of have some size privilege.
Human life, and I have pinpointed it at birth.
62 million
You
abortions
think humans
since
are
Roe versus
dolphins?
Wade.
You think fetuses
Human
are
beings
dolphins?
are
Okay.
distinct and whole,
Right.
and the science
You
of
believe-
embryology
babies sound like this.
shows that human beings begin life at conception.
The
Human
science
life,
of embryology.
You have been,
No, it doesn't.
You have been
No, it
unable
doesn't.
to pinpoint
No, it
human
doesn't.
beings on the ladder
It's
of
the building block
animal
of life.
kingdom ladder.
It's the building block of
life. 900 black babies are killed every.
Denny Azell, thank you so much. It's amazing for the $20 dono. That's fucking lame. Keep doing you. I know. It sucks. But hey, we get 30 days of experimentation. All right. People can also come to the new site, theserfs.tv. That's where this funky chat is with all the wild emotes and the spinning dicks. It's all there. It's all there for your enjoyment. Come on down. We're gonna try some stuff out. We'll get weird with it. All right. I'm gonna stream on DLive at one point. We'll watch some scary movies. Gonna stream on Facebook just for the lulz to see if we can shake the boomer cobwebs off. Be like, all right, boomers, we're here. We're gonna teach you a few things. Oh, good combo on the dicks going down too. Can you please Google Little Bits Charlie Kirk? Is this gonna put stuff that's TOS? Are you gonna get me banned on YouTube right afterwards? Little Bits Charlie Kirk. Oh, is that the name of the slider? I know what the slider.
Every single day, Ben is indifferent to that.
No, I want
there
black
are
people to decide for their own community what they
waiting
do.
families for every one abortion that happens every
And there's
single
children
year.
that are stuck in the adoptive system.
At this point, I would just be like, you're just regurgitating all this wrong information, all this stuff that you clearly got wrong in this.
Forever
In
and can't get
Texas,
adopted. 'Cause not
70%
enough
of all abortions are
people
minorities, and it really goes down to this moral question. And the moral question is whether or not we believe human beings are worthy of protection.
No.
I believe
you all the time
that
say
all
you don't
human
believe they
beings
are.
Yeah, you do not believe that though. Like, what do they do to anyone who is poor, for example? Like poverty. That's like, oh, gross, ew. Yeah, no, that's just a failing on their part. Every single person who's poor, homeless, they're garbage people. They have failed at the game of life. No, they need none of our help. The only people who actually need welfare are corporations. Corporations are having a hard time, things being what it is. So if we could just give our corporate overlords as many tax cuts as possible, everything will work out better for humanity as a whole.
They are worthy
No,
of
you
protection.
vote all the time against protecting living human beings. You only vote and push
Hold
people
on a second. Let's
to
talk about
protect
this.
the unborn.
So this is a slanderous lie.
No,
I
it's
want
not.
school choice
Slander.
because I care about all human beings. I want more police because I care about all human beings. I want strong borders because I care about human beings. It is a lie, and it is insulting to anyone who's pro-life to act as if we are only pro-baby. Everything that we advocate at this organization and over here is about the betterment and the flourishing of humanity, protection of your rights, strong education, the ability to read, the ability to go to school, not have to live in gang-infested neighborhoods.
You
this
do nothing to
talking
help
point
stop
by the
that.
left.
That is a garbage lie.
Everything that I advocate
That's garbage.
for is
You
to advocate
decide-
for the human being.
No, you
from
like
the
to
moment of
decide that's not
conception
true.
to the last gasp and breath.
That is a lie.
This
you
is a
you want to
drive-by shooting
decide what
tactic.
you think will help communities that you don't understand and aren't part of. You think there should be more.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I remember someone showed me this before. Is Little Bits in the newest season? I gotta catch up on Rick and Morty. I don't think I've watched it past season 4.
police.
So the
But
ability to read is something that I'm
constantly-
saying?
No, reading is great, but you constantly denigrate the Black Lives Matter movement and the opinions of the black community that tell you what you are telling them and dictating as their white savior what they should want is not
Yes.
in fact a reality they
Yes,
live.
thank
You're
you.
telling them more police. They say we desperately
That's
need
season
other
2?
ways.
Oh, man.
We need to shift funding into
All right,
social workers,
that's on me then.
into healthcare, into help other community help. And you say instead you tweet about how one of the founders of Black Lives Matter bought a house.
Patrice Cullors has 4 homes.
You don't want
and
her
got
to be
rich
able
while
to.
her followers still can't educate
She's
their
not
children.
allowed to
Yes.
get rich. You are, but she's not.
Well, Patrice Cullors goes on bashing capitalist enterprises, saying that she's a Marxist, gets rich.
Therefore, socialism, poverty. That's what I've been told. The Venezuela, they practically eat rats. I mean, that's like a socialist hellscape. So everyone here who advocates for socialism, clearly, every single one of you, you're supposed to live in abject poverty, right? That's the only way we'll know. Like that's why Hassan Piker is such a hypocrite, because he has a very expensive house. He makes lots of money.
Rich, while her followers continually have to send her kids to bad schools. So we only have about a minute remaining. So I just want to
I have
summarize
one last
this.
question for you. Why are you friends of murderers?
What on earth are you talking about?
You said you have friends who've had abortions and you believe abortion is
No,
murder.
let me
So
be
why
clear.
are you friends with murderers?
I'm glad you asked that question.
Thank you.
Abortionists are the murderers. Women that had
Not what you-
abortions
no.
are
You
victims.
said it's a genocide.
They have been
Oh, they're-
lied
oh,
to.
so women-
they have been
so women
captured
shouldn't-
by the abortion industry. They should be given empathy, respect, care, and compassion.
So
the
women
abortionists
not only-
should be locked up in prison. And it's
So
people like
women
you
not only
that
can't
are
decide
okay
for their own bodies,
with the
women
termination and destruction
of
children.
pre-babies / what you think are
The
dolphins.
62 million babies
Not
that
babies.
you
you are
think are
Not
okay
babies, pre-babies.
with
You don't
seeing
care
being
once they're
slaughtered
babies. You don't
in
care
human
once they're
life.
babies.
Thank
But
you,
you
Ben,
yourself
for
said
joining us. We
you're
appreciate
cool
it.
with- you're
We
friends
could
of
do a short-
murderers
we could do a
if-
short
by your
overtime
definition.
segment.
By your
And
definition.
thank you so much. Everybody,
Absolutely.
debate night. That was
Whoa. He got wrecked. That was fucking hilarious. And mad. You could tell midway through, right? As soon as he started resorting to you're like a B-rate comedian, so there is that, and of course you do love murdering black kids, so there's that as well. Yeah. So we're gonna have to, I don't know, we have to call it now. That yeah, okay.
Debate. Solid debate.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, so that's at the 1 hour and 3 minute mark. But there's still at least 24 minutes left. What's the rest of it?
You have to ask the question, how is the most heavily funded
It's just this video
tribe?
again? How many times? Oh, it's just a turning point. Oh, no. Oh, did they come back? Oh, wait. We might have an encore, everybody. Hold up. Hold up.
Okay, what were you saying, Ben?
I don't remember. You have said, I remember, you've said repeatedly that abortion is murder and genocide.
Correct.
So somebody who decides to have an abortion, then by your own definition is a murderer, unless you not only think women shouldn't be able to, maybe aren't intelligent enough or independent enough to decide what to do with their own bodies, but also they're so naive, they're always convinced against their will to have an abortion. If not, then you're friends with murderers
They're not
by
the
your
ones doing
definition.
the procedure.
Or
Abortionists are the ones doing the
No.
procedure.
You can
They
hire
are
a
lied-
hitman, can't
They
you?
are lied
If you hire a
to.
hitman, are you
They
guilty
are
of murder?
deceived. Many of them
If you
are
hire a
not
hitman,
showing
are you guilty of
ultrasounds.
murder?
Many of them are not showing ultrasounds. They're not understood the actual
and many of them
detail or
are.
complexity.
And many of them are. If
And
you hire a hitman, are you guilty of murder?
I will remain with this position that women are
course
the
you will.
victims in the abortion industry.
So women are victims and
of
can't decide for
the entire
themselves.
industry that propagandizes to them,
Right.
that try to reach out to them in a
Right.
very deceptive and terrible way.
Women can't be reached out to and then make intelligent decisions,
Let me
right?
ask you a question.
That's your opinion.
Do you believe
Women
that
can't make intelligent decisions if they were reached out to and shown an ultrasound. They can't make a decision on their own.
can they still make decisions in panic? And of course they
And
can.
it's only panicked when they have weeks to decide.
Do I believe that women are making a mistake by getting an abortion?
No,
Yes.
you're saying they're murderers.
I'm not saying them. I'm saying the abortionists are murderers.
No, but if you
Do I
hire
think
a
that-
hitman, you're guilty of murder,
Do
right?
I think that they allowed murder to occur? Yes, I do. Of
They
course,
allowed
yeah.
murder to occur.
Yes.
They hired a murderer, in your opinion.
Yes.
So you're friends with murderers. Why? Why don't you call 911 and never talk to them again?
Well, I have compassion for
For
many of these women
murderers?
because they regret what
You have
they
compassion
had.
for murderers.
I have,
You
I have
still hang out with
compassion
them.
for how
Wow, he ground that point down until he had to talk about it.
they were lied to. Many of them confide and they cry to
Yeah.
me.
On Sonny,
and
who
they
A lot of
pray
murderers
for
cry. So your
reconciliation,
point is that
and
they're
they
not
pray for
murderers.
forgiveness,
So you agree with me?
and they are broken and they are hurt
So
and
you
they
agree
wish
with
with
me?
every ounce of their being that they could undo that decision. And my
don't all believe
criticism,
that. You know that, obviously.
my criticism goes after the abortion industry, the doctors that misled them, the nurses that didn't show them the ultrasound,
you know they're
the
not
entire
misled always.
industry
So what about
that
when they
does
do
not
see
show
the
them
ultrasound?
that does. Again, that entire industry.
What about when they do see the ultrasound?
I don't believe they were shown the entire
Never?
picture. If they really
Never?
knew that it was
You
a
think
human
never?
life. Again, I don't understand the point you're making here. My position
The
is
point
very
is that
clear.
you're putting
that
these absolutes that are not
women
accurate.
should be empathized with.
But you're
and
putting absolutes that are
and
not
have shown
accurate,
compassion. So I'm not really understanding. Let me ask you a question about this,
But
which
can
is
you answer that point? You're putting absolutes that are not accurate. You're telling me never out of the 60
I believe
million
that-
abortions, no woman has decided, knowing all the facts
course
and
they
seeing
have.
the ultrasounds? Why is my stomach showing this whole time? I know you showed me earlier to cover my
wait. So,
stomach.
let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Which is this?
I'm pregnant right now.
Which
I'm
is
starting this camera.
which is so.
I might keep it, Charlie.
So human life. Can you give a specific week and trimester that you
No,
think that
finish
human
my. I already answered that 7 times.
No, you haven't. You keep on dodging it.
I
You say
specifically
somewhere
told
between
you
in the
for
third
me when they're
trimester.
viable, but that's not my decision to make.
But shouldn't the laws
But,
reflect
wait,
objective
Charlie,
morality?
bring this point home for me because you're so important that you're encouraging millions of people to not have the right to decide for their own body. The one place you think government should be big and huge
Yes.
is deciding.
You mean enforcing
So
murder
again, you
laws?
just said it's murder.
Yeah, very
So again,
basic
you just
murder
said it's
laws.
murder.
Yes, I
So
do.
you think never in
audio's
the
getting
history
scuffed
of the
again.
60 million abortions in this country,
It's such a
women have
silly-
decided on their
it's
own?
silly
So
way to
those
look
women
at
are all
it.
murderers?
So do some women make
Those women are
mistakes?
all
Of course they do.
murderers.
Are they the ones conducting that?
Are those women all murderers?
Of course they're not. The abortionists.
Boom, I rest my case again.
The abortionists are the ones.
How many times can you rest a case? A lot.
You know what's funny is only Charlie's audio is getting fucked up though. His is fine right now.
Abortionists are the ones that are doing
We just
murder.
established
Let me
if
ask
you
a
hire a
question.
hitman, then you are
Let me
guilty of
ask you a
murder.
question. When an abortionist
So
goes
you're talking
in
around it because you don't want to
to-
say that. You don't want to say your friends are murderers, but that's what you're saying.
That's
what
not
you're
even close
saying.
to what I'm saying.
It's exactly what you're saying. You just acknowledged that, of course, sometimes women have all the full knowledge and are aware of what they're doing, and in those instances, it's murder. You just said it, and then a second later you're like, but of course they're not murderers. Because you don't want to say that, because you don't ever realize the actual effect on the mothers of what you are doing
Do
and
you know
saying.
that, you know that most
only
people that
care
have
about
abortions,
this talking
Do you
point.
think you know that most women that have abortions regret it?
No, that's
Why-
not true.
Yes, it is.
I know a lot of women that have had abortions
That's
and
not
they don't
scientifically
regret
empirical.
it. Neither is your statement.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not. Most women who've had abortions
Most
regret
women
it.
who have abortions regret
Did you
it.
know that
What do
1
you
in
have to say about
4
that?
women have had an abortion by age 45? Do you know that?
That is a sad statistic.
Yeah, it's
That
sad.
1 in 4 women, unfortunately, were preyed on by the abortion industry.
They're all preyed
and
on.
62
None of them
million
just aren't-
babies.
Why does he keep saying they're preyed on by the abortion industry? Is there like some big abortion like lobby? Is there like suddenly ads on TV I don't know about in the United States right now? Where it's just like, hey, get your abortions here. See, all of you want an abortion. It's the new accessory for life. See, like, what is he talking about?
ready
We're
to have a
never
child.
able to live. Let me
Why
close
are you-
kind of this.
Wait, I
with this.
have one more question for you. Okay?
Are any choices?
Here's a big question for you.
What choices are wrong in society? Would you get rid of murder laws?
No, I have a question for you.
Okay, so-
I answer that very
so-
quickly for you. So I have a question for you real quick, okay? Why do you think late-term abortion is so bad?
Well, I think late-term abortion is morally equivalent with abortion in the first trimester.
Oh, you don't think there's any difference?
Well, I do. I think that it gets worse because the baby can feel pain and it becomes even more developed.
Oh, perfect. So you prove my point.
I think it's
yet
more
again.
grotesque.
It becomes even more developed.
It becomes more
That's
grotesque.
my point.
Is that the question?
Human life
it
doesn't
becomes
do
more
that.
brutal.
You would never be more angry at a mother that killed a living baby at 3 years old than you would if they killed a baby at 1 year old. But with a fetus, you do. So you're qualifying the amount of life
No, I said
of
that
a
it's
fetus.
morally the same.
No,
I
you
said
didn't.
it's more grotesque.
You just said
Got
it's
him.
worse.
Ben, you know what's
because
more
it's still
grotesque?
developing.
You know what's more grotesque? When the baby starts crying and an abortionist goes in and snaps its neck. Yes, it's more grotesque.
What?
Do you know what actually happens in an abortion?
Yes, I do.
What happens? Tell me.
Outrage.
I know exactly what
What
happens.
happens?
There's several
Outrage
different
No,
methods of
tell
how
me.
you can do
No,
it.
tell me how an abortion happens, Ben, since you're such an expert.
You dilate the cervix and you go in there with a tube and you suction out the tiny half an inch large 0.025 of an ounce embryo, and it doesn't get a chance to become a human being.
What does the baby
later,
do while
which
that's happening?
you just
The
agreed.
baby is fighting against it.
No,
the baby
it's
is
not.
clinging to the wall
Not
of the
in
mother.
the first 2 trimesters, no,
and,
it is not.
and then the baby
What
does
do you
what?
think the
The
In the
baby-
third
zygote
trimester,
is?
it might be true, but not in the first 2 trimesters.
Oh, sure it does.
No,
Go
it
look
does
at the
not.
videos of abortion, and guess
No, it
what
does not.
percentage of abortions do the
Charlie,
abortionists have to break the
The
neck of
embryo
baby?
is
Charlie,
fighting for
you
its
just
life.
you ever see a video?
A small percentage, because that is the late abortions that
So
happen
wait.
in less than 1%
If
of
you,
the
if you
chance.
had to break a neck of a
the
baby,
cases.
so it is a baby, you agree?
No, I never said that.
If you have to break a neck as a baby,
No.
then what is it?
Dolphins have necks. They're your favorite animal.
So you believe that it's okay?
No, I didn't say it's okay. Abortions are sad. It's great.
Ben, I really don't think you.
As wild as this is, Charlie said it was over, and then it just comes right back. It's just as unhinged.
You understand how grotesque and graphic
All right.
and intimate and quite honestly disgusting an abortion is. How unnatural it is to go into the development of a human being, break the neck, insert oneself, and the baby is trying with everything it can to cling onto the wall of the mother and to extract
That
that
is
by
not what
force.
happens. That is
Yeah,
not
why
what
does he,
happens.
why does he keep thinking? Does he think there's like claw marks from the embryos inside women's uteruses? Like, what is he saying right now?
You got to watch more videos of
I've
abortions.
watched so many videos.
That's really creepy.
I've
If you've
watched-
watched
Yeah.
so many videos.
Oh,
You gotta watch more videos on abortions. What are you saying right now, Charlie? What, like go on BitChute and find all these abortion videos? Oh, I have some really good ones I could share with you. Some really savage abortions. Like, what the fuck? No.
so the amount you watched is,
One
is,
was
is
enough,
the
Ben.
Goldilocks
Yeah,
amount.
after one murder, one was enough. So
Yep.
many videos.
So let me ask you a question.
That's what axe
Charlie.
murderers do.
Here's a question that I would love to see about how we can move forward as a country on this, okay?
That will be a good way to close.
Great. I love it. So how to move forward as a country is obviously it's very contentious, and we see these things differently, right?
That's been evidently clear.
Yes, absolutely. But my big question is when you are clearly someone who does not believe in government overreach, and you want people to be successful on their own, deciding on their own what their lives are going to be. I mean, I have a quote from you right here. You think that people should be able to fend for themselves and make their own life and make their own decisions. But for some reason, that's why you're against a lot of expanding welfare programs, expanding Medicaid,
Yes.
expanding prenatal care. Yet, when it comes to a woman, half the population's own body, you don't agree with your own words.
You know the response before I say it. You know why? Because I believe that unborn child
But you
deserves
don't.
constitutional protection
But you-
and the right to flourish
but you
like you
don't.
and I. And
Because-
who are we as human beings, as fully developed people, to say that that being right now, 6 weeks in the
Because
womb,
we're fully developed.
does not have the same sort of shot at life that
Because
we
we're
have?
fully developed and we
And
are human beings
so-
who are alive.
so you
just
believe that-
admitted that they're not fully alive. You admitted it several times.
No,
Your
no,
own
no.
words.
They're
They
small.
never had a chance to
Hold on a
exist.
second. No. You're being dishonest.
No, I'm not.
I'm saying that they are not as old and they're not as large, but they are equally a human being. They are a personhood. So this question of
No, they're
women in
not.
government, I believe in a small and strong government. Small in what we do,
Yeah.
yet strong in the enforcement. A
Going
very
into a woman's body
universal
is small.
principle.
Yeah,
what
I
we
was,
do?
I
Let
was
me
like, yeah, nothing smaller, no smaller government than actually want to legislate like forced births. Definitely sounds like limited government to me. Yes.
Very
small
clear.
thing
No,
to
you're
you?
actually the one that wants to go into the body and snap the neck of babies. I want to make sure that
You want
doesn't
to ruin the
happen.
lives of millions of women.
Let me be very clear.
You want to ruin the lives of living women.
No, I want
you only care about
unborn
unborn,
children
and you don't care
to
about
be able
children.
to continue. I care so much
Right.
about women. I want
Once they're
to
born, you don't
prevent
care.
them from the horror of abortion.
Once
I care
they're
so
born,
much.
you don't care.
I care so much
I
about
want to force
women
them.
that I want.
I want to force them. Like that's exactly what you're trying to say here. I want to prevent them. I want to prevent them from doing things with autonomy through force.
31 million more
You should
women
decide
that
for
never
them.
had the chance
You
to be able
should
to
decide
live.
for the living
To live the way you are.
currently living women. You should decide for them.
31
'Cause that's the question I
million
wanted to get to.
women.
That's the question I wanted to get to.
31 million. Let me ask you a question. 31 million women never had a chance to see their 10th birthday.
Yeah.
Since Roe
I
versus
think they've
Wade.
said,
Does that
"Let me
bother
ask you a
No.
question"
We just
so
talked
many
about
times.
Okay, so okay,
Must
that's
be like
fine. So
50
I
times
thought you
by
said
now.
you're pro-women. Half of
They're
abortion
not
statistically.
women. They're not women. We went over this in great detail.
So they're just some amphibious being.
Why do you care more about the unborn than the born?
I care equally because they're
No, you
both
don't.
human beings. I do.
But you just said over and over again, you just affirmed again that you don't care about helping the structural systems that can help the born children.
This argument is such a silly argument.
Because you don't have an answer.
But even that, like, why do you care about them equally? Why do you care about something that doesn't exist yet? Like, you care more about ghosts than people? That's basically it. Like, well, yeah, I mean, ghosts and people should have equal rights. That's just the way I see things.
answer for it.
Let me be very clear. You know
Please.
why? Because government dependence doesn't help. That's why. It hurts. It keeps people down.
In your privileged opinion.
School choice
In your
would help the
privileged
black
opinion.
community, yet the teacher unions get in the way of it.
That's all they need is school
Defunding
choice.
the police raises crime and hurts minority opinions. This is the
In your-
argument
in
that,
your
so,
white privileged
that so
opinion.
many people make.
That's your opinion,
which is
Charlie.
Which is that
Against the
somehow
facts.
I am anti-life and only pro-baby. Every position I hold is pro-life. Every single position.
because
I
you
believe
say-
in the dignity, the flourishing, the potential, and the prosperity of all
Hope you don't
human
believe in
beings.
the
Every
death
public
penalty,
policy
Charlie.
position
Without
that
any help.
I hold.
Without any help.
That's not
You're
true.
for-
I believe in a
you're
safety
for
net,
forced birth.
but not a hammock. I
Right.
believe in lifting people up, not crushing them down on dependence. I believe we shouldn't throw rocks at the top of the building. We should fix the elevator. I believe in intergenerational stratification. I believe in getting more people to read, not less.
I believe in ladders, not steps.
I
Why do we
believe
got
in
all
the
kinds of
current
analogies like
public education system in Baltimore, where in 5 schools they could not find a black child that could read at 5th grade. That's what I'm focused on fixing.
That school needs better teachers.
I agree. That's why bad teachers should be
me find
fired
something.
and good teachers should be paid more, and the teacher union should be crushed. This argument from the pro-abortion lobby that we're somehow only pro-birth and you're on your own is disgusting,
No,
and it's
because you
ridiculous.
just seconded
This is
it.
why
You just affirmed it.
No.
You have a few things that are
Medicaid,
normal
social welfare.
conservative
Those
talking
keep
points
people down. That does
in
not
your
lift them up.
privileged opinion when you never had to deal with changing your social status. Social status. and strata.
Let me just ask you a question.
But how do you know if you never had to do that?
Well,
it's so arrogant for people who
yield.
never had to
So
do
let me ask you a
it
question.
to know
What
how
about-
easy it is to get to a different social status.
Let me ask
You're
you a question.
making
Just
that up.
move.
So just universal, is reading a good thing? Being able to read?
Yeah, it's pretty
Being able
solid.
to do math?
Even though with screens these days,
How about-
it's not super necessary.
How about low
To a
crime
bigger
areas?
house.
Yeah, that's good, and
Yeah.
you don't want to help.
I don't need to grow up in the
communities that
Get a
are like
better
that.
know those
job.
things are good.
You don't want to help those communities.
Stop
I want to help them
sweating,
so much.
sweaty.
I want to get them
No,
off
you don't.
government dependency and get them into economic
So they
flourishing.
should follow your
I wanna
prescription.
I want to get. No, it's not mine. This is.
It is.
So how do you stay out of poverty in America? What are the 3 things you have to do to stay out of poverty?
You got to get out of poverty.
Graduate high school, get a job, any job, and get married before you have kids. That's the Brookings Institution, which is a liberal institution. Those are
And
3
you don't want to
things
help
that you
people do those things.
Let's go through it. Okay, get married before you have kids. I'm a huge advocate of that. I want to fix the high schools in our country, and I want to be able to have jobs abundant in inner city schools. Everything I stand for is for the betterment of the individual.
How do you want to get those jobs going?
Enterprise zones, opportunity zones, lowering crime. Crime is one of the number one
Enterprise
reasons why
zones.
businesses will not move into low-income areas. Every position I have is a pro-life position, going from protecting the unborn child in the womb all the way to making sure you have safe streets, schools where children can read, fathers in the home, making sure people stay loyally married to their spouse, being able to make sure communities are thriving. A pro-life agenda is through the entire public policy
that's not
portfolio
true.
of the conservative
Those are some
world
positive
view. The
opinions you
left-wing
have.
worldview is very simple. We want to abort you in the womb,
No,
keep you
nobody
down,
wants to abort you.
have forced eugenics, not be able to read in your schools, close your
Yeah, I think in order, that's basically the policy. He got them all. Yeah. I mean, he knows the left. I'll give him that.
Yeah, we want you to
businesses,
not read.
be able to
That's
gang
your opinion.
violence.
We want you to not read.
It seems as if the Democrat Party and the left is perfectly okay with the fact that literacy rates have gone down in inner cities, that teacher unions are making more money than ever before, they oppose charter schools and oppose private schools. This idea that somehow I don't care about the dignity of individuals as pro-life people is disgusting.
care
It's
about their
reprehensible.
dignity. You just don't want to help them.
I want to help them through better schools, safer streets, more jobs, and fathers back in the
not
homes.
in the ways
Those
that they
things
tell you they
are
need help.
objectively. You know who does?
But not in the ways they
What
tell
about
you they need
Senator
help.
Tim Scott? What about Thomas Sowell? What about black leaders that want to talk about flourishing, not victimology? What about black leaders that want to talk about rebuilding these communities?
We need all of that.
These things are objectively good. You know
I have
deep
2
down
last questions
that
for
if
you.
people get a job, they graduate high school, they can read, they could do math, and that they don't commit crimes. You know those things are objectively
know
good.
for a fact math
regardless
does jack shit. I
black,
know for a fact
regardless
math
of
does nothing.
regardless if they're black,
I don't
regardless
use
if
math.
Hispanic,
It's a waste of
regardless of
math,
what they are.
let's be honest.
This
You don't even-
idea
you got
that
calculator on your
somehow
phones right there.
because of the skin color that I have, that I can't say that some things are better than others, it's ridiculous. Not committing crimes,
Whoa.
getting a job,
Oh, no. She's getting a little bit mask off there, Charlie.
graduating high school, getting married before you have kids are moral goods that everyone should advocate for, and that's what conservatives
Saying
believe.
not committing crimes and getting jobs from your position of white privilege is something that is woefully ignorant to say without a true understanding of that experience. But I think it's great that you do have a lot of those positions that would help, and I think it would be nice if you could up your empathy a little bit to help. In some
All
of the
right,
other ways.
Kinky,
So I have 2 last
we'll get a
questions.
whataboutism mode.
One, here's a big one I have for you. Is since I was trying to say the point and I got distracted because this is very intense, but if we agree, we see this all very differently, right? But currently the law of the land is that a woman does have the right to choose. At least
not the law of the
federally.
land.
Federally, that is what
It's the interpretation.
Okay.
It was never passed by Congress.
Okay. Point being, why don't you, if you truly care about people so much, and you claim, even though you won't talk about the woman, you claim you care about the woman, the mother, as well as the unborn child, then why don't you focus instead on the education of these people? Why don't you focus instead on making sure they have the care they need to be able to bring more children into the world, which would make you happy and would reduce abortions, and not do it through draconian laws that punish them and would make it illegal if they're raped or if they have an ectopic pregnancy or anything like
How much do
that?
you know about my views on actual children in development?
I've studied as much as I can find, but I don't know
I
that
believe
much
in
about
paying
it.
people to have children. Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
Well, you should have a note card.
But what's your answer to that question?
I
Why do you
believe-
try to do it through laws and not through
Hold on a
just
second.
education?
Let's go through this.
and
Did you say
help?
I believe
I
you
do
should
believe in
pay
education
people to
and help. I
have
believe
children?
that for every child you get, you should get cash from the federal government. Did you know that?
That's great. How much cash do you want them to have?
10,000, 12,000 a year. I think we need to increase the birth rate in our country. Do you know that?
That's great. I do know you think that.
Is
And
that
we
a
also
pro-life position?
We have an overpopulation problem. It's
No,
going to
we
cause
don't.
more
Oh my
problem and
goodness.
death.
We have an
But, okay.
overpopulation problem?
We do. We do. But let me ask you this last thing, okay? Here's what I don't.
I mean, I think instead of wording it like that, as in I want to pay people to have kids or bribe people to have families, because just like having unwanted children in general is a terrible idea. People should have kids if they want to have kids, and if they're going to be, you know, attentive, loving parents, that's a good time to have kids. Otherwise, if they have children, then yes, we do need some form of governmental assistance, especially for low-income families or even, you know, people who can't find jobs. Like, we do need some form of social safety nets there.
don't understand. Conservatives claim to be all about freedom. And you claim that liberals are...
It depends what the definition of freedom
about this
is,
nanny
yes.
state and about not being free.
There's some nuance and flex in those joints, but sure,
Okay.
yeah.
So here's what I don't understand. You think that when you're trying to protect people from a pandemic, you can't infringe on someone's freedom to ask them to wear a mask because it might not spit deadly virus into their face. That's too much of an impingement on freedom for you. But you're okay with rolling back reproductive freedom. You're okay with rolling back voting access in this country. You're okay with broadly undermining our democracy by backing an insurrection literally to overthrow the election of our nation that you supported. I mean, Turning Point's literally funded Trump's Jan 6 rally.
So Ben, I have a question.
That led to an insurrection attempt on our government and the death of many people, including police officers that you claim to love and care for. How do you reconcile being anti-freedom on all of those things and claiming you are pro-freedom?
So Ben, I have a question. Which one of us...
And anti-democracy.
Ben, I have a question. Which one
There
of us
goes
was
the
arrested
audio
at the
again.
Capitol before?
I was.
So you're an insurrectionist.
Oh no, I didn't break into the building and kill people.
Wait, were you arrested?
Yeah, I went...
Where was I on January 6th?
You were doing a podcast in which you said, I'm getting 500 emails a minute of people saying we want civil war and ginning that up.
You were
and
arrested
also,
at the Capitol,
not that day,
and
not
I
that
was
day.
in Phoenix, Arizona.
And you also sent busloads of people to the Capitol on Jan 6.
How do you justify
You
being an
sent
insurrectionist?
people to the Capitol on Jan 6
So
for the insurrection.
You really should get better research.
Are you not responsible? So
Because
hold on.
Our
I-
students
no.
never got near the Capitol.
None of them. None of them.
You're the
They were
one who went
actually
down this
They were
road.
right. They were at the ellipse.
And none of
2
them
miles
walked.
away.
None of them walked
but
into the Capitol.
you, as an insurrectionist who were arrested at the Capitol,
Zero. No.
because
Excuse me.
you are a threat to
I
democracy.
peacefully protested and told the Capitol Police I would be protesting. They knew
So you're a
it was
domestic
respectful and it was
terrorist.
civil disobedience.
I did not
and
know
they
that you were a
knew that it
domestic
was happening.
terrorist.
So you do
Wow.
take blame for the insurrection that happened on Jan 6?
no blame. That's
Doing
slanderous
great in the
and wrong.
abortion
Why do you take
debate.
no
This
blame
doesn't
for it?
derail
You sent buses of
completely.
people there.
To the ellipse that got nowhere near the Capitol. You're the
But
insurrectionist.
that day that you
USA
ginned
paid
up,
for the buses.
Libelous and slanderous, and you know it.
that day that you
What's the final question you
that's
have
it.
here?
That day that you ginned up
I
led to
ginned
death.
up nothing.
That
That's a
day that you
disgusting
ginned up,
lie. You're the only one that got arrested at the
you
Capitol.
said you were sending patriots to fight.
I
for
said
Trump.
nothing like that.
Yes, you did. You
You've
said
you've
you
never
sent
said fight,
patriots to fight.
Metaphorically fight.
And you said they want a
Listen,
civil war.
This is so typical
You
of the
encouraged
left,
a civil war.
where you come in here, where you yourself have been arrested at the Capitol,
Peaceful,
and you try to say
disobedient
that I am
protesting.
something
That's
I'm not.
different.
You are a domestic terrorist
Wait,
and
okay.
a failed presidential
So
candidate no
you're-
one's ever heard of.
so you're
and
not-
you have the balls to come in here and try to call me that.
So
No,
you're not-
This started by Charlie saying, this is sure to be an interesting conversation. He was in line, that's for sure. Like, you are a domestic terrorist, a liar, and you want to kill every black child. Like, holy shit.
You're
So you're not responsible for it?
Let me
I'm just asking that. That's my last question.
Not even
You're
close.
not responsible
But
for what happened on
have
Jan
actually
6?
been arrested on the Capitol.
Okay,
let me finish
fair.
and say this.
Wait,
This right here
sorry.
is exactly why we're not going to come together as a nation
no,
or
no,
this.
no.
You dishonestly come in here with poorly researched talking points where I was
Perfectly
2,000
researched.
miles away
You can't
in Phoenix, Arizona
incite
that
a
day.
mob from a distance?
Let me be very clear. You're the one that's actually been arrested before.
Yeah.
I have not, nor our
Peaceful
students, and they
protesting.
got nowhere near.
None of them
And let
did.
me
Okay.
just let me just finish by
Wait,
saying
wait.
this. You're done. Let me
No,
finish
no.
by saying
Wait.
This is
I
exactly
promise
why
here's my
no
last
one
sentence.
trusts half the country.
I promise
because
here's
they
my last
dishonestly
sentence.
lie
Charlie.
about this and they think they got one when they themselves are actually the domestic terrorists and the people that have attacked our democracy. He's been arrested.
Not
I
Matt.
haven't. Thank you, Ben,
Matt.
so much
I
for a
promise
great
here's
debate.
my last
Thank
sentence.
you guys so much.
I promise here's my last sentence.
Thank you.
Oh, no, hold on.
We're done.
Last
Thank you.
sentence.
Oh, wow, Charlie. Yeah, got him. That wasn't, by the way, the second time you tried to, like, rage quit. Didn't you do that, like, 10
The
minutes
abortion
earlier?
industry, they should be given empathy, respect, care.
You don't
in
care
human
once
life.
they're babies.
Thank
But
you,
you
Ben,
yourself
for
said
joining us. We
you're
appreciate
cool
it.
with- you're
We
friends
can do
of
a short,
murderers
we can do a
if-
short
by your
overtime
definition.
segment.
By your
And
definition.
thank you so much. Everybody, debate
Absolutely.
night.
How did they go from the first fake out to the second one? Like, I wonder what he said. He's like, "Oh, come on, I just got one more question. Can we just do one? You don't have to air it. I mean, I just want to use it for my B-roll. So I got my own cameras going. Why don't we try that out?" Like, That's like, yeah, it's like almost 20 minutes later until he completely rage quits. He's like, oh my god, no. You're a terrorist. Holy shit, that went well. Fantastic job. Bravo all around. Great entertainment, amazing debate. You know, being fucking every single time Charlie Kirk tried to like insult him, like you're not going to insult like an insult comic, right? Like what are you going to do? He's going to pull like 5 new moves on you every single time you try. Why did he upload this? It looks so bad. Because, like, let's even see the comments. I guarantee they're going to be all pro. Like, this could have been a decent debate if Charlie weren't constantly attacking his guests and calling him creepy and stupid. It was so unprofessional. Oh, I am surprised. Difficult to see why people would want to debate him. Why would anyone be subject to this type of behavior? Charlie Kirk, I want people to be married before they have kids. Also, Charlie Kirk, abortion shouldn't be allowed. Guys posting his L's just doesn't learn. This guy slaughtered Charlie so bad. Oh, well, color me surprised. I don't know why Kirk keeps trying to debate people just to get clapped up. Well, allow me to contribute to the marketplace of ideas. I'm never one to kink shame, but I don't know why Charlie keeps wanting to get fucked on camera so often. Oh, I guess I should change the letter so it doesn't delete it automatically. Without the proper rebuttal. Actually, no, I'll just leave it with the start. That's good. Parlay.
Hey, do you like movies? Do you like Serfs? Do you want movies and Serfs watching the movies? So then come over to the new channels. It's the Serfs cinema. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Can you do the thing, you know, that thumbs up and comment and all those things that help us out in the algorithm that controls every aspect of our lives? Also, if you happen to have a Facebook account, can you delete it? Like just delete it. You should probably delete your Facebook account because it's not a great company. But hey, if you can't do that for whatever reason, I understand. And could you also go to facebook.com/thesurftimes then and give us a little like and a follow. We're just trying to push back against the fact that people like Ben Shapiro happen to dominate the platform entirely. And when everyone asks why do older generations believe the things they believe, one of the problems is the majority of them on social media use Facebook. So to counter that, we're just going to be on there too now. Also, if you happen to have a union or a worker co-op or even a leftist project, podcast, website, Zoom, MySpace, it doesn't matter. We will advertise it for free on this channel. All you got to do is go to weareserfs.com and use the forms that we got there, weareserfs.com. Thanks, everybody.
To our gods, Xander Corvus and Peyton L. Just, may you shower us mortals with gifts from the heaven. To our monarch, Tom Spiker, we are your humble jesters, clowning around for your amusement. To our lord, Trevor R. and Alexander Thaler, we give you our thanks for this meager land for us to toil our seed. To our knights of the round table, Hagbard Sealine, Matthew Scarborough, Stellar Vision, Ariana McCarthy, Daniel Sutton, Ants Are Still Running the World, Coulter Smith, Tom Groh, Val 9000, Jenna Tal, Dark Puppy, Quiet One 85, Anna Loves Riley, Omni, Riley and Anna, Poodlehawk, The Tim Caucus, Multimondi, Trevor Janis, Lemmy 101, Anthropophojak, Saren 42, Chronic de Hemphog, Catherine, Radical Maniac, Ramon Acosta, Incosin, Violent Orchard, Sophie Baby, Political Puppy, Andreas Chiringuito, Zach Christensen, Josh Mickelson, Todd Buckingham, and Todd Lajeunesse. We raise our glasses and we salute you, our comrades.